Orange Lounge Radio. With your hosts, Dark Sakura, Sky, and Loki.
Tonight, we interview Mike Kennedy, publisher of Retro Magazine, with their plans of a second year of crowd-funded retro publishing goodness and much more. It's been a busy 2 weeks, so without any further delay, let's get to the news, your chat, comments, calls, and emails right now on the show, where every gamer has a voice.
Orange Lounge Radio.
Jason, you forgot about the delay for food talk. That's a thing that always happens. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another week of the show where every gamer has a voice. It is Orange Lounge Radio. And yes, we are back after a week off live with this episode number 572 for October the 26th of 2014. My name is Rob Roberts, and not here with you, unfortunately, tonight in studio, the one and only Dark Sakura or Jamie Summers. I know, it's like, we were just gone last week. Shouldn't she be here tonight? But actually, Dark Sakura actually moved this week. So she is moving into a new house. So she's finishing up some business that, that comes with moving, because moving is certainly no fun task. I can attest to that. But that means, for those of you that have been listening to OLR for a while, we currently tape at what we call Studio N7 because it's number 7, the 7th studio we've had. This means that studio number 5 is no more. It's gonzo. She's moved into a new place. So she should be back on the program next week. But joining us here in studio, say hello to Techmaster Loki.
Hello.
Hi, Loki. How are you? Welcome back.
I am good.
Yeah. Did you have a good week off?
Yeah, I guess.
Sorry, you were muted there for a minute there. But what'd you do? That was my fault. What'd you do with your week off?
I think watch the kids.
Yeah. Working on your game. Did you get to play games?
Oh, you know what? Actually, I did work on my game. That's right. That's what I was doing.
Yeah.
I didn't really play a whole ton of games. I bought a PlayStation 4.
Right.
But that's sadly enough, I didn't really get to play any games on it because it was one of those you buy it off of Craigslist for a discounted price and everything seems good. Mm-hmm. And I even was smart enough to power it on. I brought my portable monitor, HDMI monitor with me, plugged it in, made sure that I got, something on the screen. I forgot to bring a game disc to see if it played, and unfortunately the disc drive was busted. But fortunately, it's under warranty, and the dude even had like an extended warranty on it, so instead of sending it off to the extended warranty place, I just went ahead and sent it to Sony because they're like, oh, well, if it's within a year, it's under a warranty. I'm like, well, the PlayStation 4 hasn't been out for a year yet, so I'm pretty sure it's under your warranty. So there's no problems, and they're sending me a box to send it back, and they'll fix it, and that'll be that.
So what made you decide to finally take the plunge and you got PlayStation 4 as opposed to Xbox One? Because you and I were talking a little bit before the show, catching up from a couple weeks, and you kind of mentioned that Xbox One has a lot of really attractive exclusive software right now with the Fantasia, Disney, and with the Forza Horizon 2. What made you decide ultimately for PS4?
Well, basically it's just what my friends have. So I picked that console because I wanted a PlayStation 4 more than I wanted an Xbox One as far as like third-party stuff goes, because everything seems to play better on a PlayStation 4 versus an Xbox One. And the first-party stuff that I really wanted right now, like Sunset Overdrive and Forza Horizon 2, I mean, it's okay, but even like next year is going to have some pretty good stuff with like Crackdown and stuff. But I still have time to get a system for that. But there's not a lot of our friends right now that have Xbox Ones. And so if I want to play like, Call of Duty with my friends and stuff, or if I want to play, like Grand Theft Auto, or even, you guys are playing Destiny and stuff, everybody has a PlayStation 4 to do that. So that's...
Or Final Fantasy 14, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I really don't have time for an MMO.
I know.
And, hey, if it wasn't, monthly, that would be a whole different story.
But very interesting that, in a way, I don't want to say it's peer pressure that caused you to do it, because it's not so much that, but it's definitely that inertia and why the launches of systems are so important, because, you kind of say, well, because all my friends have this, because, PS4 kind of had the bigger boom out the gate, a lot of people kind of adopted that. That's kind of what swayed you. It's kind of interesting to see how that inertia really plays into things.
Yeah, and on top of that, I mean, it's that's also why, and if it was the opposite, I'd probably be buying an Xbox One, because if all my friends had an Xbox One. Then
Well, I got a 360 before a PlayStation 3 for very similar reasons.
Yeah,
I mean, I think they were launched a year apart, but I was a later adopter. I didn't. The PS4 is the first system I bought at launch in a while.
Well, you see, I had a lot of store credit built up from selling off our LAN systems. I had a lot of those.
Yeah.
And so I sold those off and sold off a lot of my duplicate games and stuff. And even I sold my Kinect and, all that stuff. I still have my, PlayStation 3, my, original one. And I've still got my Xbox 360. So I'm still playing stuff on. I'm going to be playing stuff on those still, at least for a little bit. And then I don't know, but I just wanted to get like a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One. I just kind of I'm just going to get PlayStation 4, and then mainly because Grand Theft Auto 5 is coming back out again. That Call of Duty. Call of Duty looked really good. Next gen. And I was like, it's just not going to be the same. But See, and this is kind of even weird because, I never understood the point of pre-ordering games digitally. Obviously, though, with Call of Duty, we talked a few weeks ago that they had that deal where if you buy it on, and they've even done that with, Destiny and stuff, where you buy it on one system, you get it, it's cross-buy. So, since I still play with people on PlayStation 3, Call of Duty, I bought it digitally because now I'll have it on PlayStation 3 for the people that haven't upgraded yet, and we can still play on that. And then when everybody upgrades to PlayStation 4, I'll have it for that as well.
Let's go to our chat room over at live.vognetwork.com because we do tape live every Sunday night at 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern, right after the Bobby Blackwolf Show at the Voice of Geeks Network of vognetwork.com. And if you're listening live, you should join us in chat, live.vognetwork.com, just like SSG 100 Matt, who says, apparently it was too much effort to get it fixed and then sell it to someone. What a jerk.
Yeah.
Talking about the Craigslist guy. Have you learned your lesson about Craigslist yet? You don't...
I had good... I've only done 3 deals on Craigslist, and to be honest, this wasn't so bad because the system works. It is really strange, though. I mean,
don't you think that the dude broke the disk drive and it was just like, I'll just sell it to some sucker?
Here's the thing, though. He didn't break the disk drive. The launch PS4s actually have a problem with their disk drives. Like, a lot of them failed, and that was something that's well known, but it's under warranty. You fucking bought an extended warranty. Why didn't you just send it off for a few days and it would be fixed, done?
Yeah.
But I think what happened is he ended up buying another PlayStation 4 or something and just said, fuck it. I'm just gonna, I can't wait to. Well, the only game he had on the hard drive was NBA 2K14, so I guess he couldn't wait to play NBA 2K14. So, okay, and whatever. I mean. It works. I mean, I can still play games on it right now. I just only play digital games.
Have you played NBA 2K14?
No, because it's not licensed to my account.
Right.
Not that I would even want to, but I played the I played that one because I bought a camera with it. So
the Playroom.
Yeah, I played with Playroom a little bit.
Actually, Tiger Claw is kind of referencing that there. Tiger Claw says, with Loki now owning a PlayStation 4, hopefully we can see him stream some games on Twitch. Is that part of your long-term plan?
I guess I could.
Everybody's doing that now. It's so interesting.
It's like, now that everybody's doing it, it's like, who cares?
Well, and you and I were talking before the show about the whole, you can't, you're going to have to send your PlayStation 4 in. But then I was like, oh, wait a minute. On Tuesday, I know we'll get into this a little later in the show, so sorry to jump ahead. But on Tuesday, we're going to get that patch, and it's going to have the whole share play thing. So I could pop in Diablo 4, I wish, Diablo 3, and we could do the co-op, over the share play, at least for an hour. Before we get cut off, but
see, that'd be cool. I mean, I'd like to check that out, and it's not a big deal if it's gone for because just because I have it doesn't mean I'm playing the system right now, and really I'm going to want to play Call of Duty when it comes out, but assuming I get that box pretty soon, they said it takes about 7 to 10 business days, I think, to turn it around. So it won't be too bad. So I'll miss a few days on. I can always play it on PlayStation 3 because I bought it digitally. So
and you haven't had a PS4 for this long. So what's another?
Exactly. I'm not in a huge hurry. I'm just like, I want to play Watch Dogs and Infamous and the other game. Destiny. So
going to our chat room, a name I have not seen before. So welcome. Continues in our chat room says people don't think about that when a system breaks after they buy it. So maybe this guy sure he had the extended warranty, but he just kind of said screw it.
Or maybe he bought the game digitally and literally didn't know that drive was bad because it was installed on there digitally. it could be just that he literally didn't know. I think he did know, but whatever. I mean, it's so stupid, and it's not like something that can't get fixed.
Exactly.
It's going to get
Well,
fixed.
my launch Xbox 360 broke. It red ringed after I had it like 4 days. You can go back in the show archive and find it. It's about February. It was around Valentine's Day, right after the 360s came out.
And Active is pointing out that PlayStation Plus has Dust and Legion Tale is free right now. Yeah, see, that's the problem. Is all those games that are free right now, a lot of them, I have on my Steam library. So it's like I could play this. But I'm not playing it on Steam.
But not Pix the Cat, which is like actually way more awesome than you would think it is looking at screenshots. So
I will have to try that.
All right, there you go. Play Pix the Cat, then send back your PlayStation 4.
I have it downloaded, yeah.
All right, get on that. All right, let's talk about a couple quick things here. We are going to bring in, of course, as Jason said there at the top of the show, we have a return guest this week. We haven't had a lot of these in the history of OLR, but we like to support indie productions, meaning indie podcasts, and indie publications. And Mike Kennedy, the publisher of Retro Magazine, is going to be coming back on the show tonight. He was on about a year ago when Retro Magazine was just an idea. And here we are a year later, and the Kickstarter for year number 2 is currently underway. And we'll talk to Mike all about that. So that's in about 10 minutes. So I've got about 10 minutes to talk about other stuff that happened while we weren't here, namely Final Fantasy Fan Fest. That is where I was last weekend in Vegas. This all took place at the Rio. I talked about this in depth a little bit on my other program, Horde House, so I don't want to repeat myself too much, but I know there's some of you that listen here that don't listen to Horde House. Just to kind of clear a few things up, even though it's Final Fantasy Fan Festival, if you actually look at the logo, there's a very big 14 logo in it, meaning this festival was not about all things Final Fantasy. It was only about Final Fantasy 14. They had some demo kiosks for Final Fantasy Theatrhythm, where they were giving away codes for the song Good King Mugglemog, which is a stage in Final Fantasy 14, except they ran out of those halfway through the first day. But, whatever, I'd already bought the song anyway. That was it. There was no 11, which really surprised me because Square's had 4 other fan fests before dedicated to Final Fantasy 11, but this was purely 14, not a peep said about Final Fantasy 11. Nothing about 13 being on Steam or the other ones like, 4 just came out on Steam, or the Monster Hunter game coming out next year, that one, the Final Fantasy Explorers or whatever it's called. Nothing about that. It is strictly about 14. And there was a lot of good things, a lot of not so good things. Community was great. Met a lot of good people. Had a great time with my link shell. The developers of the game, so personable. And a real standout star from the whole thing, I think, is Soken, who's the music producer, who's kind of, I know Nobuo Uematsu does stuff with Square still, but he's also kind of branched out on his own. He's not really tied so much to the Final Fantasy brand right now. So Soken is kind of like their guy right now, and he's very different because he's a little more contemporary probably, but he's really, really personable and just a lot of fun, and you really see like the passion he has for it. And I really just loved watching him, and his band played the closing ceremonies, and they were very good. And even though their repertoire was very limited, because as the Primals, the name of the band, they only played Primal songs, meaning the 5 boss themes that are in the game right now. That's all they could play. Oh, no, and then Mugglemog. They played that song, too, and had Koji, who's the localization guy who does all the voices of the Moogles in the game. I did not realize this. He does all those voices in that song. He actually sung it on stage, which was actually a kind of a hoot to watch live. So, yeah, it was pretty funny. So, and then some of the events they had are really neat, too. Like, they actually had an archery studio that like came in, and you could learn for like 2 minutes how to fire a legit bow and arrow. We had to like sign releases and everything, and you could do that. And they were
pull arrow back, let go of arrow.
It's harder than it looks, trust me, because I really flopped at it. And you actually had a little real. I should have brought him out here to the studio so you could see it, Loki. But they actually had like a little real life quest log book, and as you did all these events, you get it stamped, and then you could turn it in. You get like a participation badge for some of these things that you did. And the Odin battle was neat because that's something that's not in the game. So this was all kind of neat. All these events. The part that wasn't so great was the glue that held it all together. Like, there wasn't enough for everybody to do. The lines were really badly long. And in fact, I know like the merchandise line was like crazy long. It was like 4 hours at one point. So yeah. And there was this whole thing about where we had some seats, we got kicked out, and that really pissed me off because we'd been there for 90 minutes. I'm not going to get into the whole thing. I talked about it on Horde House. So there's just some organization things that were kind of bad, which I don't consider this the first year of FanFest. I consider it the 5th. And so I would have hoped some more of these things would have been worked out. But granted, Final Fantasy 14 is in a much higher place, so to speak, sub-number wise, than Final Fantasy 11 ever was. So maybe they really truly did under-anticipate the volume. I really hope they learn a lot, and I would consider going to a year 2 if they do one. Joining us here in studio just for a bit, because I know we have an interview to get to here before too long, but joining us here in studio for a bit is our pal Shane.
And I'm going to go to sleep because
I know
I'm super tired.
You're super tired because that 6 a.m. shift or whatever it is you work kicks your butt, right?
Waking up at 4:30.
Now, you weren't able to come on Horde House this week because I wanted to have you on there to talk about FanFest, but you and I went to Vegas together on that 9-hour drive. How'd you like?
Fine.
How'd you like the desert?
The desert's stupid. The desert needs to die somehow more than it already has.
I can't believe people live there, right?
Just old people.
What did you think of FanFest? Because you kind of disagreed with me on some things. So quickly, what was your take on the whole thing?
I think it was amazing. I understand the frustration with some of the parts. Like, the lines were terrible at times. There wasn't a lot of things to do. Especially, unless you wanted to wait in line.
You stood in that merch line for 4 hours, and you still come out of this going, I had a great time.
Yeah, I did. For one thing, I didn't have to stand the entire time because I got in so late that they were seating people to get in line. So I sat through my favorite panel of the entire thing, the music panel, so it was great.
Did you hear what I said when you were in the other room about Soken? He's kind of like, with Uematsu.
He's amazing.
Well, with Uematsu, not really. I mean, he does stuff with Square, but now he's kind of does his own other things too.
Yeah.
Like, Soken's really kind of like the face of music in the Final Fantasy games right now. And
yes, he's way more interesting, I think.
He's just different, I think. He's just different. Like, I don't want to shade Nobuo Uematsu, who is a legend of legends, but Soken
is more personable.
Well, Soken's also contemporary. He's more contemporary to me.
Yeah.
I think he's a great face. Anyway.
Well, I just watched the London ceremony, and he was awesome in it. But anyway, no, I don't also consider it its 5th attempt because the Vanafest or whatever, I don't think those are even remotely the same thing. It's the same company, but I don't think it's the same people involved. But I had a great time. Arrows shooting was fun. The cannon stuff was dumb. It was really dumb, actually. It was a cute idea, but if I was 4, I might have liked it. And I thought everything was really great. Even if I didn't get to do everything. Like, I didn't do the primal battle. I didn't do Frontlines. I didn't do speed challenge, but we did Odin. We did the panels. And really, I was there for the information in the panels. The other stuff was just extra. So
it was worth $120 to you?
It was amazing, yes. And I want them to do a second year, but they said they might not do it yearly because people will expect an expansion every time, which I'm like, no, just say there's not going to be an expansion announcement and still do it because people would still go. We had free company members show up that decided they were going to go the day before it happened, and they had a blast.
Yeah.
So
I was really amazed that they pulled that together. But Final Fantasy 14, one thing they've been very good at is that they've been putting out patches really regularly.
Yeah, we have one on Tuesday.
So exactly. I feel like they would be they'd still have something to talk about with all these regular patches if they still go down that path.
Yeah, well, and think about it. Our FanFest, we got the announcement of the expansion. The rest of FanFest was dedicated to the upcoming patch,
right? And
then just other random things like music or lore, not anything to do with the new expansion. So, yeah, they could really just base it around a patch, and I think people would be happy.
ActDeft is linking to something on eBay asking, did Shane get this? And it's Fan Festival 2014 delivery Moogle with in-game minion code.
Yes, I already have my minion. It's all running around in-game with me.
That's why the line was so long, because this was the first time they were selling these exclusive at FanFest with in-game minions.
Yes, the Moogle is going to be on the online store, but they were only taking pre-orders in every region for it. It wasn't out yet. The art book was also there, and I believe...
Which also has a minion.
I believe Japan had just got the art book when we were able to get it at FanFest, but it's still up for just pre-order in the site.
So since I don't know anything about this game, what exactly are the minions?
They're just little pets that follow you. Sometimes they interact with things like... Okay, so I have this adorable dog minion, and... So you have a pet emote, and when you do that to him, he lays on his back so you can rub his stomach. It's adorable. Sometimes the Moogles, no matter if it's a regular Moogle or the delivery one, they will, if you have multiple out, like you have one out and your friend has one out, they will link up and start doing like a little dance around with each other. You can beckon some of them to like hop on your shoulder. It's pretty neat. I mean, it's stupid, but it just gives you more things to do in the game.
Yeah, and honestly, I was like, when I saw that merch line, I was like, screw that. I'm like, Alan will understand if I don't bring one of those home because I'm not going to stand in that line. And then I got extraordinarily lucky, and somebody who had connections did me a really nice favor, and I got one anyway.
One thing that I didn't
if you're
mind-
listening, thank you.
One thing I didn't mind about the line is that the people I was standing with were pleasant enough that I could talk with them like the entire time.
I found that to be something like one of the biggest pluses about FanFest was that the community was really awesome.
And I was worried about that going in. I thought we were going to get the hardcore Final Fantasy fans that know everything, and if you say something wrong, they will look at you and say bad things at you. Because I played 11 a lot. I play 14 a lot. The other Final Fantasies, to be honest, I haven't beat a Final Fantasy since 7. And I didn't care for a lot of the ones after that.
And I thought it was awesome because there were 7 of us from the free company there.
Yes.
A party in Final Fantasy 14 is 8 people. So to do Odin, we were 1 short to do a party. So we pugged somebody.
Well, you guys pugged him before you got the us 3.
To make a long story short, because I'm running out of time, we ended up pugging a guy that was there by himself from a low pop server, didn't know anybody there, and he was really awesome and helped explain the fight to us. And we were like, why don't you just hang out with us? And so he
hang out with us for the rest of the weekend.
For the rest of the weekend, he hung out with us, and we invited him up to party. And
I don't think he's joined our free company.
Yeah, he hasn't faction changed yet. Actually, this is really funny. I think I got him in my trial today because and
you know his name.
I know his name because our friend is friends. I'm trying to like keep this for public radio. Yeah. But I saw that name pop up in Duty Finder as a tank.
Yeah.
In the I got Leviathan, and I was like, Leviathan. I think that's. But he was one of those ones that was like in and out, pulled, and then left the thing right away. So I couldn't say, oh my God, were you a fan? I couldn't get any of that.
That's another reason why our FanFest was great, because in our concert, we got Leviathan twice. We got it as the second song, and we got it as the encore. And that is my favorite song in the game. And so I was beaming the entire time that song was being played live. So good.
Quickly here, because I have to transition topics here, but what was your favorite thing about FanFest?
Leviathan.
And what does that mean for the listeners that don't know?
Leviathan, the concert they had at the closing ceremonies was the Soken, the guy that does all the music, and he has a band called the Primals, and they played the theme songs to all the current Primals in the game. And Leviathan's song is my absolute favorite, probably song of all Final Fantasy games ever that I've heard. And now that I have Theater Rhythm, I can hear a lot of the other songs I've never heard before. And they played it second. I was kind of like going crazy about it. And then they did an encore, and they asked what song we wanted to hear. And Leviathan won the encore, and they played it again. And I was just like,
but they wouldn't play Shiva, yet they did this weekend in Europe, which is
and
bull.
now that I've heard it, we didn't really miss out on much. I'm glad we got Leviathan twice. I'd rather have that than Shiva. So. And then what's my least favorite? Because I assume that was the other side to this. My least favorite probably was it being in a casino hotel, which I understand Vegas is probably all that, but I really don't like the smell of cigarette smoke. And walking through the casino areas to get to the event, you walk through a lot of cigarette smoke, and I did not like that at all. But I really
that was your first trip to Vegas, right?
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe I'm just not a Vegas person, but I didn't drink or gamble, and I just didn't really see the point. I was there with a purpose.
I noticed one other thing I'll quickly say is that a ton of street passes, especially for Theatrhythm. I've got 99 Chaos maps now.
Theatrhythm and Smash Brothers, nice. That was the highlight for your 3DS there. And getting all your puzzle pieces. That was easy to do.
All right. Anyhow, Shane, if you want to come back later and hang, that's cool. But
I'll be in bed.
You're probably going to bed. All right. Well,
I got to go park my character in front of the Rogue Guild in Final Fantasy to be prepared on Tuesday.
All right. Well, good luck. But I got to shift gears here because it is time for us to give our pal Mike Kennedy a call. Mike is with Retro Magazine, and they're just coming off their first year of Retro Magazine, and they're starting a Kickstarter for the second year, which is actually in progress. We're going to get a status update on that. And I believe we have Mike on the line. Hi, Mike. You there?
Hey, I'm here. Thanks again for having us on.
No problem. And actually, we're going to have a second person too here in this interview. Do you want to introduce this guy for us here, Mike?
Yeah, I wanted to bring on Mark Kaminski. He's the co-founder and also our creative director. He's the guy responsible for all the pretty pages in the magazine, among lots of other things.
Very nice. Welcome to the show, Mark. How you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. Well, first off, I just want to say congratulations. You guys have successfully completed 1 year of Retro Magazine, and I know we're here to talk about the Kickstarter for year 2. And usually, when we're talking about Kickstarter progress, I want to give an update and say, "Oh, go donate because they have this much further to go." But you made it. You've accomplished already your Kickstarter goal for year 2 of Retro Magazine, right?
We have hit our goal, but the goal was really set something that we thought we could achieve, and really our goal for this second year is to make the magazine bigger and better, add more pages and lots of other cool things to the magazine. So right now we're really excited that we hit the goal within I think it was about a week, and we've got 3 weeks left to start hitting some stretch goals, which means just more pages and more inserts and more cool things. So we're really excited that we hit it early on, so we've got kind of this nice launching pad for hitting some of these stretch goals, hopefully.
Awesome. Well, let me take a step back a little bit here because, even though we had you on the show last year, Mike, we're fortunate enough. We have some new listeners every week here on the show. So some people out there listening might not have heard about Retro Magazine before. So maybe I'll ask you, Mark, since you weren't here last year, tell us a little bit about Retro Magazine, Mark. What is it?
Well, it's just an old school magazine. It's a double entente, so it's retro. We cover retro content, and it's also a retro throwback magazine, kind of like the old school magazines that we had in the past, Nintendo Power, Game Fan, Game Pro, that kind of thing. So we wanted to resurrect a print magazine for guys that still collect games and don't emulate stuff, and felt like there was a void in the market, and we just kind of went out and created one.
Well, and created you did. You guys have been very successful at that. How does it feel to see that, there's all these people out there saying, print is dead, but yet you guys are still able to make this successful thing? How does that kind of feel?
Well, as Mark said, I mean, we're a retro magazine, and it is that double entendre being that we talk about retro and we deliver it kind of in a retro format. Although there's still a few video game magazines out there, but obviously, kind of the great ones are dying off. I mean, kind of with Nintendo Power last year, and hopefully that's about where it stops. There's still a few on the rack, and it's great to see that. And we certainly don't want to be the only one on there. We just want to add to kind of that cornucopia of video gaming goodness that you can still get and hold on to in your hands, and that's kind of what we want to deliver. And I think so far our fans and readers, that's kind of what we're seeing, because we do sell quite a few more print subscriptions than digital. We offer it in both formats. So we're trying to cover all of the bases there. But generally, people seem to really resonate with the print.
Awesome. And if you guys have questions for Mike or Mark, you can ask them in our chat room over at live.vognetwork.com if you are listening live here. And, of course, if you want to find out more about the Kickstarter, there's not an easy way for me to give Kickstarter links out on the show, but you can always go.
We have a link that's friendly.
Do? Oh, because usually they're so long and slash dot. So what is the link?
We have thought of that. We think of everything. Well, we think we do. We have a link for that, guys. It's readretro.com/Kickstarter.
Simple enough.
Yeah, so there it is.
Good thinking. All right, I can just say that then. readretro.com/Kickstarter. Much easier than go here and search for this person's name. Good job on thinking that through. Well, let's talk about Kickstarter for a minute here, Mike. I want to ask a question that might be kind of tough, but I think just to clear the air and make sure everybody kind of understands. You've gone to Kickstarter for year 2 of the magazine, but I know there's probably going to be those cynical people out there that say, well, doesn't year 1 pay for year 2? So do you want to elaborate on why that is not the case here and why you do need this Kickstarter for year 2?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, we're using the Kickstarter not to fund the second year, because we've committed to doing year 2 already. We've been selling subscriptions all year long. But we wanted to use Kickstarter for a couple of reasons. Number one, I mean, it's a marketing, people use it for marketing right now. I mean, there's lots of, sophomore follow-up deals that are, things that people are working on where they'll go back to Kickstarter again and again and again, because it brings new people. For whatever reason, I mean, there's enough new people kind of on Kickstarter that will see this project maybe for the first time. So that it's kind of for us, it's being used as a supplemental campaign to what we've already done, and we're really just using it to grow grow the subscriber base, get in front of new people, because there's just buzz around a Kickstarter project, and so we just wanted to continue to use Kickstarter in whatever way that we can. I mean, it's kind of a smart way. And other magazines, Nintendo Force is another great magazine that they just completed their second-year Kickstarter a few months ago, and that was very successful. And again, it's just a way to fund more growth. And I think most people will understand. I hope anyway why we're doing it. So far, we really haven't had too many questions about it. Mm-hmm. But it's just a great way to bring in new people, new eyes, new subscribers. There's some marketing value that Kickstarter offers these days that, again, a lot of people use it to keep things going.
That's a very honest answer that I wouldn't have really thought of, but you're absolutely right. Is because these crowdfunding things is really the buzz and what a lot of people are talking about right now. I'm sure it does kind of put this in front of more people that maybe were not even aware of year one. So that's a great response. Thank you. Let's talk a little bit about some of the contributors to the magazine, Mike, because you talked about how there's some of these magazines that aren't around anymore, but it seems like some of the people you might recognize from those magazines, you've got writing for Retro. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the contributors you have?
Yeah. So it was, when we started this thing, it was always our goal to bring on a great team of writers, and it didn't necessarily mean it was some big name everybody had heard of it. We wanted to try to kind of make it a mix of some well-known industry writers, but if you look at our magazines, you'll notice lots of new names, coming in and out of every issue. So we certainly try to mix it up and give people opportunities to get in print, because those opportunities are falling by the wayside these days, right?
Right.
And people want to see their name in print still, and I think always will. And so we wanted to be an avenue for that, not for the kind of the more, I guess, well-known people, but the newer people as well. But as far as the well-known people, people like Jeremy Parrish, Chris Kohler, Sean Baby, Cap Bailey, Alexander Hall, Andy Eddy. He's been writing for video game magazines. He's published. He's been publisher or editor. Back in the 90s at Video Games and Computer Entertainment. So he goes way back.
Dave Halverson.
And we're excited. Yeah, Dave Halverson. We brought him back. In issue 4, did our cover story. So we try to mix things up. We kind of have our core group that you're going to see probably in every magazine, but the other half of the people, we're going to bring in and kind of new people and keep things fresh, and and it's been it's a pretty successful model, I think, so far.
Awesome. And yeah, you've got some great names there. And when you say a name like Sean Baby, I kind of go like, oh man, I remember reading that guy's stuff when there wasn't OLR, which I can't even remember that far back some days. Like, this show's been going on so long.
Yeah. And we got new people, we just had Scott Sharkey sign on.
Oh, cool.
So a lot of you guys may remember Scott Sharkey. He's kind of disappeared, the last couple of years. He went out and basically bartended out in the middle of the Nevada desert for the last 2 years.
Wow.
So I caught up with him at Portland Retro Gaming Expo last weekend, and really great guy, man. He's really excited to be back. He's really excited to be writing for the magazine. So he's just one of the people that we're bringing on. But we've got kind of a handful of a few other kind of interesting folks that may be joining the contributor list that I think will surprise a lot of people. But we're just sort of keeping wraps on those just for right now. But there may be some revealing going on in the next 3 weeks before the Kickstarter ends.
All right, then. Stay tuned to that. Mark, let me ask you this one. Since you've done a lot with making the magazine pretty, as Mike said earlier, what is a personal favorite article or contribution of yours from the first year of publication? And I know it's probably tough making you pick between all this stuff, but try to pick just one that was a personal favorite of yours.
I'm gonna have to say, content-wise, some of the interviews that we've done. It was really cool to get Ed Semrad in the first issue. He was one of the original guys at EGM, had some really cool custom stuff. Another interview, we found a guy in Pittsburgh that was sort of in the closet with his collection of pinball machines, has over 800 machines in his private collection. Never talked to anybody before, like not part of Papa or any of the big events. So he was sort of like an unknown quantity, and we kind of, dug him out and got an exclusive interview. So that's kind of my personal favorite.
Awesome. That's always kind of cool to like. It sounds like you guys have been very good at like kind of, I don't want to say digging up people, but seeking out these people that maybe haven't kept up with the industry as it is today, but really finding these folks that contributed to gaming in the past and letting us catch up with them. Because maybe they don't all have Twitter accounts or what have it.
Well, yeah. in our first issue, we have interview with Inafune, and actually, one of the images that his team sent us wasn't supposed to be sent. And I guess there's some scribbling in Japanese there where it says something like, "This is just like Mega Man." And they were a little concerned about it. Wasn't supposed to be released publicly kind of thing. And that's in the book. So that's kind of cool. Whoops.
I love that.
Yeah.
We might have done something bad, but it's in the book now. So yeah.
Right. We just published what they gave us.
That's right. You didn't do anything wrong.
That's right. But yeah, I mean that's a great comment. I mean, part of what we want to do moving forward, adding more pages and content. We had polled all of our readers back in probably March, kind of first quarter, and a lot of people, loved the retro gaming interviews that we do with some of these gaming legends, and coming back and trying to find some of these people that haven't been interviewed, hundreds of times, I think is going to be a new challenge of ours. I mean, there's a lot of these legends that, for whatever reason, have flown under the radar for years, and they're all getting a lot older now. So it's important to kind of, find some of these people that had some maybe they wrote some really great hit game, back in the 80s or early 90s, and then they've just disappeared. And trying to kind of find these people and give them an opportunity to come in and tell us, about their time in the industry. I mean, everybody's heard David Crane, Gary Kitchen, at least kind of the pre-NES era. I mean, those guys have been interviewed a bazillion times. So I know when we interviewed them in our latest issue, part of the angle I took with them is that issue was about platforming. It was kind of the theme, and so I pretty much centered all my questions around platforming, which, a lot of these questions they'd probably never been asked before. So it's still kind of a cool way to ask them and get information out of them that maybe they hadn't told people before. There was a section of that article that we actually cut when we had to edit it down. And I think we've still got this, and we're going to probably get it on the website sooner or later. But there was this real in-depth explanation that Gary Kitchen had given us about porting over Donkey Kong to the Atari 2600. And that's generally a port that, people either love it or hate it. But unfortunately, a lot of people didn't like it. Me, I thought it was great. I've spent zillions of hours playing Donkey Kong on Atari 2600. But he talked about how hard it was to angle the girders like in the first level of Donkey Kong, because for whatever reason the architecture of Atari, everything had to be on a straight line, and so it was just this great explanation. You could tell that this was something that he just had struggled with, because he went on and on and on, about how much of an accomplishment it was for him to actually figure out how to angle the girders. Because if you play Donkey Kong level 1 and they were flat, it just wouldn't look like Donkey Kong, right?
Right.
So he figured out how to do that, and those are just the great stories that we love to get and talk about. And although we cut that piece, there's still a ton of great information that we left in, and we'll probably have that here someplace else. But just hearing these people's struggles that they didn't have anybody they could learn from. They were there first. And, while it's a unique opportunity that few people, can find themselves in, it's pretty amazing to see what they did, without any training and, no school, nobody to ask how to do something. I think people nowadays just sort of forget, where it all started. And it wasn't that long ago, really.
Well, and that kind of ties into some of the new content that we cover as well, where it's almost like the golden age of resurgence of indie game publishing right now.
Oh yeah,
these little guys are going out there and they work with big developers, and now they're coming out and they're like, I want to make a cool platforming game, or I want to make my own RPG. And they're small teams of a handful of people and they're making the game that they really want to make. And it's just a really interesting space right now.
I don't know if you know this, but we literally had one of those guys on the show here 2 weeks ago talking about his game, Time Spinner. I don't know if that's one you guys that's been on you guys' radar, but literally what you just said there, and I kind of agree. There's a lot of love of the retro going on there, and yeah, you are seeing people that are stepping away from maybe these AAA studios to really do their quote unquote pet projects. Such as when we had Bodie on a couple weeks ago. Curious, are there any of these types of retro nostalgia games? Because Retro Magazine doesn't only cover classics. Like, you guys had Mighty Number 9 on your very first issue, which, is certainly a retro-inspired game, right? What kinds of these retro-inspired games do you think might not be on our radar right now but should be?
Mike,
gosh.
some of the stuff from E3.
I don't know. I was just looking. Actually, we're covering Time Spinner in our next issue. So it's just I knew you had mentioned that. I'm going through our pagination here, going, that really sounds familiar. So, you know what? One of the things for me, being kind of an older gamer, I'm 45. I'm the pre-NES kind of demographic that we try to shoot some of our content towards. And there's tons of these games coming out that I would never hear about if I wasn't publishing this magazine or reading this magazine, because I read it. When we're doing the pagination and people are turning their stories in and everything, that's when I get to read the magazine, And I tell you what, I go through this stuff and we learn about these games. And I tell you, there's not that many, really great indie games that are coming out right now that people haven't heard of, because the industry's totally changing. I mean, Sony, they're going after exclusives. We're covering Axiom Verge, which is this great Metroidvania game. That's kind of our cover story for the next issue. And my God, I mean, that's a Sony exclusive. So you got companies like Sony going out to these, single person dev teams. It's not even a team. It's just you, and your game is so good. They're trying to make it, give you an exclusive deal on it. Think about that. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's insane, and it's great. That's why the industry is changing right now. So, there was Indiecade a couple of weekends ago. I went out there, and Nintendo had a tent there, showcasing all of these great indie titles that are coming out, and Ouya had a booth there, and Sony had a booth there, and so they're really trying to get these games out to the public.
Yeah,
and there's really no other magazines, at least at this point, that are really covering it and giving these types of games top billing. So, I think that's a great place for us to come in and kind of help get these people's games kind of permanently recorded, and on paper and everything else, because it's just kind of eroding right now. But I don't know. I mean, there's Mark. I mean, is there any other games that you can think of? I know.
Well, right now on the Ouya, I'm playing Neverending Nightmare. It's that time of year, survival horror. I'll tell you what, that is one of the creepiest games you will ever play. Mm-hmm. I love the Ouya platform. I think there's a lot of great stuff on there, and I wish them the best of luck. I hope they can continue on.
Me too. My appreciation for the Ouya really didn't grow until I really saw it, probably about E3 this year or GamerX, where I really started to see like more of the indie stuff that they were really opening up that platform to, and really kind of going over and championing these indies. That made me really appreciate the Ouya a lot more as a system. So.
They had a tent full of people at Indiecade. I mean, full of people, and there's probably a dozen flat screens in there playing all these games, and almost every single one of them was a retro title. Mm-hmm. So it's really turning into a pretty decent format. So, they had some rocky times, but I think they're bringing the games, which ultimately, hopefully, will work out really well for them.
Hey, Rob, I want to take a quick step back and just first of all thank you. You were the first show that we got on last year.
Thank you.
To promote the Kickstarter, and it really means a lot. I've listened to your show since about 2006 on and off. I ran into Bobby at Southern Fried Gaming Expo, and we put your name in the magazine. Just want to say thanks a lot for having us on.
Thank you so much, and no, it's an absolute pleasure. And I like to kind of say like, oh well, we were there catching this wave before it got big. So that's
absolutely.
Yeah, no. When the first issue came out, I noticed, and I looked at the backer pages. I was like, oh, our orangeloungeradio.com is right there in the first position. I was like, well, that's kind of neat. And then so I had heard that could be part of the reason why you were the first show. We were the first show that had you guys on. So. Fantastic. I'm glad we can give you guys a boost again this year, just in case there's folks out there that still, for whatever reason, have not heard of Retro Magazine. And yes, print media is still happening out there. Still happening. Speaking of that, let me ask one more question I have here. Do you have advice to anybody else that might decide to venture into the world of print media? Now, we are the voice of Geeks Network, so we have a lot of different fandoms, not just video gaming. We've got people that like, British television shows and anime and all sorts of fandoms here. And I'm sure a lot of people are feeling like, they see the print media for their stuff slip away. So, some people, I've seen everything from newsletters and what we used to call zines many years ago, right?
Sure.
I've seen all sorts of things. So what advice would you guys have from what you've learned over the past year to anybody else that might be ready to venture down this path?
Well, I think first of all, go. It's easy to say, but you got to just go for it, and then you figure out a way to make it happen. Especially if what you want to talk about, would resonate with people that to read magazines. I mean, like old video game magazines, that resonates with people. So, generally, I'm thinking, probably a lot of your people grew up reading magazines and whatever hobby they like, and those magazines probably are disappearing. Maybe they didn't have magazines in the first place if they were really small hobbies. But generally, you're not the only kind of people that like something. There's other people out there, and we've just found that people still really like the magazines and don't think that we're crazy. But there's a lot of work that's involved, and it helps if you've got connections. Honestly, if Mark wouldn't have come to me, I was going to do a digital magazine originally, and Mark, who happens to be in that business, kind of sought me out and heard what I wanted to do and said, let's do a print magazine. And at first I thought, you're nuts, but luckily for me, I mean, he had a background in it. He had the printing contacts and the, the desire and will and aptitude to lay out, a complete, magazine by himself. I mean, it's insane. So, we got a little bit lucky that way, but, with the software and stuff out there these days, right, Mark? I mean, if you wanted to do it and kind of do it yourself and start small, I think you probably could do it, but just nail your costs down,
Yeah, I mean, just go out there and do it, really. There's a lot of technological advances that have happened with printing. So, we print on a traditional big web press. We ship out through the mail and everything, polybag our magazines. But, I mean, there's print-on-demand services through places like JewMag or MagCloud, all these other things. So you could put out a digital magazine, and let's say it's something that you start with some people, and then you want to offer a print version. I mean, people can ante up and pay and have it shipped to them directly, sort of like a one-off print on demand. So, I mean, go out there and do it. I mean, we love it. So, and we didn't really skip on any of the, we don't print on cheap toilet paper. We have really nice quality paper. We have high quality stock for our covers and everything. We want this to be something that you put on the shelf, and we're going after a certain market, people that collect games that want to have something to hold on to. So, I mean, if you love it, go out, do it. You'll feel better for it, and there's a lot of options right now. So, yeah, absolutely, follow your dream.
Excellent. Well, again, if you guys want to check out Retro Magazine, check out their website, readretro.com, and of course the Kickstarter, readretro.com/Kickstarter. I got that right, correct? Good.
You got it.
All right. Awesome. Well, before we close up here, I always like to ask this question of all the guests that we have here on the show. What games are you playing right now? So what games are you into right now? I'm curious if you're playing retro games, or maybe there's newer games that have your eye right now, which is totally fine too. I play both. Mark, I'll start with you. What games are you playing right now?
Okay, classic games right now. I'm playing through R-Type 1 and 2 as best I can on Ouya. Really hard. I keep going back to it, and I'm like, man, I don't remember this being so hard. But any shmup that I can't, and I'm pretty good. I have a Neo Geo cabinet and everything. I mean,
nice.
Having a hard time getting past the third level on both games, and it's like, But Borderlands. As far as like the new stuff, just big fan of the Borderlands series. Can't praise it enough.
Yeah, clearly you must have picked up the pre-sequel. That's
oh yeah, yep.
Awesome. Mike, how about you?
Oh gosh, I'm going to come on the total opposite end of this spectrum. I first of all, I've not been playing a lot because it's just I don't know. That's the sad part of being so busy.
Yeah, it's true.
But I did pick up the ColecoVision Flashback and the Intellivision Flashback. and have been playing through some of the new homebrew games on the ColecoVision Flashback. There's about I don't know, half a dozen of them or so on there.
I forgot those were coming. I need to get those. Thank you for
Those
reminding me.
Those are out. I mean, $40 at Toys R Us. I think Intellivision I just saw something come down my Facebook, a Groupon for the Intellivision Flashback.
Oh, I need to get the
60
ColecoVision
built-in games. You get the original looking Intellivision controller. They're pretty decent little systems, and there's certainly going to be games on there.
Plates.
That is
Yeah, they got the controller overlays and stuff. They'll come with that. So, and again, there's some new homebrew games on there that are real good. So if you kind of grew up in that era and you want some new games to play, the other great thing about these is a lot of the rare games that the cartridges may be $50 to $100. There's probably a dozen of them on this thing, so you don't have to get the cartridge. You can get this Flashback and play a lot of the harder to find and more expensive games. But I'm trying to think of like a current game that I've been playing.
That was a great answer, Mike, because like you literally have me going like, you know what, I have money on my Groupon account from some gift certificates, and if this Intellivision thing is on there, I'm buying one. So
it's a great gift to give somebody too, like for that gamer that kind of has everything. I mean, they're really cool systems.
Or a great gift to give myself.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
Right here.
Even better.
Hit titles: Adventure, Zaxxon, Pepper 2, Jumpman Jr. Okay, I'll just buy that right now. Then.
Right. I can't wait. Is there going to be like a Commodore 64? Well, I know they had that newer PC a few years ago that also had the retro mode. But one of these days they're going to release. I think they had like a Commodore 64 joystick or something that came out some time ago. But that was my retro.
That was great. Yeah.
Hey, Mike, what was that TV that they had at CGE with the
system? There's a new television that's out. It's from Crossley. If you guys Google, I think if you just Google Crossley, Crossley, they're the ones that are making some of the new, like in Target stores. It's like the USB record players and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That you can, but Crossley Retro Television.
Yeah,
and
it's
you're
really
gonna see this beautiful flat screen TV with these big chrome knobs on it and this wood grain, board, kind of perimeter, around the edge of the TV. And they're pretty expensive, but man, they're really sharp. They're video game friendly. They got lots of inputs. Those have been kind of the new thing and they've been working with Intellivision and a lot of these companies to bring these TVs into the retro expos.
It's they have a 24-inch one for $229.
Wow.
I think they have them at Target, or maybe you can probably get them online, but they're pretty sharp.
Awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
I learned some new stuff, and now I've just spent more money thanks to this interview. That's fantastic. Thanks, you guys. All right. Well, I want to thank you guys again for coming on. Let me quickly read some of these comments here we're getting in a chat room. SSG 100 Matt says, the digital PDF subscription are great for any medium. Absolutely. It's a great way to kind of get the magazine on your iPad and all that stuff, right? Dungeon Buster, in response to the zine question, saying, I wonder how many of these fanzine authors went on to become full-fledged writers and editors. I bet quite a few. I know some people that started as podcasters that do a lot of this, big time stuff now, which is cool. Dungeon Buster also says the old mags are great snapshots of the past in gaming. The ads, the articles, and the excitement were splashed onto every page. Do you guys ever have the urge to run like a classic video game ad of sorts in your magazine?
Mark, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess first of all, I don't know if there's. I know a lot of the e-zines and the fan magazines did that. I don't know for like a widely distributed, magazine if that's infringing on anything.
We have to be careful we don't get sued. I mean, I'd love to, but
Good
point. I don't know some of that stuff. I mean, and the ads that we've had in our magazine. I mean, we keep it to a minimum. We only have 4 to 6 pages. And we really feel everything we put in there is like something you check out, video game box protectors or some class, retro game coming out. So we've been really fortunate.
It's relevant.
It's relevant.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wish you guys the best of luck with year 2 of Retro Magazine, and any other links or things you want to plug here before I let you guys go. Mike, I'll start with you.
Well, I'd just say, readretro.com. That's our website that, is kind of tagged onto that Kickstarter campaign. But the main thing is the website. I mean, we got a ton of writers over there putting a lot of effort and time into creating new content, retro content. We're trying to kind of fill the gaps between the magazine deliveries, give people a place to kind of interact and read what our writers, are talking about online every day, and again, just fill the gaps between the magazine and really use the website to kind of complement the magazine. And I've just been really proud of the content that we're getting up there. And we just want people to go and read it. We got a lot of people spend a lot of time, and I think there's some neat stuff there. We got hundreds of stories there. I mean, and it's all, pretty timeless. There's not a lot of reviews we have some new game reviews, but I mean, we're getting some pretty exclusive stuff, some cool interviews. We're getting some, cool videos and stuff that you can kind of just read anytime, and it's kind of timeless and resourceful. I would just say, for me, check out the website as well.
Awesome. Mark, anything you want to add to that?
Absolutely. Southern Fried Game Room Expo.com. It's a long link, but Bobby Blackwolf was there. I know the hosts of this show are pinball fans. If you can make it out next year in Atlanta, June 20th through the 22nd, it's a great show. Lots of really cool pinball stuff. Check it out. Get it on your bucket list or calendar or whatever. Come out next year.
I already do make my one trip to Atlanta a year for Dragon Con, but it sounds like you guys have quite the convention. I know Bobby's gone a few years there, and he's a fan. So
this year was the first year.
Oh.
I mean, it was totally crazy. Naked people in the pool. It was out of control. It was a good time.
Why did I think it was you were on year 2 or 3? I guess I'm getting ahead of myself. I guess
Yeah.
it was just that solid. It was like a second or third year convention.
It was so amazing. Yeah, it was a really good time.
That's why. All right. Well, thank you guys again, and congratulations on all your success with Retro Magazine. And I'm looking forward to year 2, as I'm sure a lot of people are. And thanks for keeping the print media alive. It's fantastic.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
All
Thanks
right.
for having us on again.
Thanks again. Take care, you guys.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye. Again, that was Mike and Mark from Retro Magazine, and we wish them the best of luck with year 2. And that Kickstarter is going on right now, and as we mentioned earlier, they have made the goal, but they are looking at stretch goals. They're going to make the magazine bigger, add more pages, things along that line. So if you are feeling so generous, you want to check out the magazine, I would urge you to go over the Kickstarter. I believe, too, from what I'm reading on the Kickstarter, if you want to get a subscription, if this is just even something that interests you, you can lock it in now cheaper than it's going to be after the Kickstarter's over. So, if you're I want to get the magazine, you might as well do the Kickstarter and get locked in for year 2 of Retro Magazine. Thanks again for them coming on the show. Always good to have them on. How do you like that, Loki? He's been listening since 2006. I had heard we were the first show that had them on. That's great.
That's pretty awesome.
That's very awesome. So
Almost as awesome as this ColecoVision flashback game console that I now need to get.
I know, right? I see everybody linking it in our chat room there. In fact, ActDeft sent me a link directly to Groupon of this Intellivision flashback console there. How much is that thing going to set me back when it comes up here? Oh, man, it even comes with the... Okay, see, here's the thing. I had the Intellivision Lives on, the Xbox or whatever it was? I remember... On our old network, All Games, they were really tight with the Intellivision guys, and I seem to remember for a while they were pushing that Intellivision Lives. It was on Xbox, right?
Uh-huh.
So I remember getting a copy of that then. But man, this flashback console comes with one of those little disc controllers with the number pad on it. Awesome. $40 on Groupon. I think I'm gonna have to buy that.
Yeah, the regular price on those is $49.99.
I gotta buy it. Somebody stop me! All right. That's 60 titles on that.
Although if you can't get through Groupon, according to Google here, at least the ColecoVision one is $39.99 at Bed Bath & Beyond. The place that you'd probably never think to buy a retro console.
Who would think to get a console at Bed Bath & Beyond? Oh, my gosh. Wow. All right.
That's what I grew up on, man, is the ColecoVision, so that's some awesome stuff. Although those controllers look a little bit different than I remember.
All right. Well, let's get into it. So from retro to current gaming, let us get into how was your gaming week and the types of video games that you've been playing this week, and then we can finally get into our news. Loki, how was your gaming week?
My gaming week was okay. I mean, obviously, I bought a game system. Sadly, I did not play really anything on it. I just kind of got it ready. I got all those games that kind of bookmarked with PlayStation Plus back when I had it, because I had to renew it because I let it lapse for a while. But now I have another year in there because obviously if I'm playing multiplayer games, I got to have it anyways. But I meant to do it at some point. I was just waiting for when I was going to have a PlayStation 4. So I renewed that, and I just kind of downloaded everything that I had marked that I wanted to play. So I have that all installed. So I just had to go and play that. Like, the only game I kind of played was that just to test out the camera, the Playroom or whatever that's called, I think.
Yeah.
So I had my son mess around with that.
Yeah, I was gonna say your kids would probably get a real big kick out of that.
Yeah, my son liked it. He's always skittish about like everything. I'm like, yeah, there's robots in there, and he's like, well, I don't know, robots are scary. I'm like, no, it's not scary. It's not scary. So he liked it. He liked so suck them back up into the controller. I was like, okay, fine, I'll do that. And he's like, what's that noise? I'm like, they're stuck in the controller, see? And he's all, shoot them back out. And so he had fun with that. So I messed with that a little bit. Sadly, that's probably I don't think I'm going to be using the camera very much though, but whatever. That's cool to have anyways. And then just pre-ordered some stuff that's gonna be coming out because Grand Theft Auto 5 I gotta have that. So I did that digitally just for the fuck of it. I mean, whatever. I'm not going to sell that game. It's going to be awesome. And then Call of Duty, just because I wanted that on PS3 as well as PlayStation 4, because I still have friends that haven't bought a PlayStation 4 yet, and we're going to be hopefully upgrading to that for Modern Warfare 2. So that, and then just working on my game, still working on doing the new Unity GUI stuff to redo my whole editor so that I can quickly go through it to make levels out of it instead of just ships and stuff. And so that's what I've been working on, just getting the new interface down for that so that I can build stuff. And so I was just kind of working away at that. But
is your game retro inspired? Because maybe you'll get covered in that magazine someday, Retro Magazine.
Sort of. I mean, it's a 2D shooter, I guess, and it's gonna have. I mean, the original idea was it was going to be like the NES color palette and stuff, so it was going to be very limited, looking like that. Kind of like, how they have those 3D NES games sometimes, like, where it'll be just kind of blocky looking stuff. That's what the original idea was. It was going to.
Are you talking about like Vector? Or are you talking about something like?
No, I'm talking about like where they like take like the Super Mario Brothers, original Super Mario Brothers, and they make like a 3D web version of that or something like that, where you can like pan the camera and stuff.
Okay, I'm with you.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where it's going to look
Paper Mario,
kind of like voxels or something. Paper Mario is cool. I love Paper Mario, but no, not exactly. And I increased the color palette. It's like 88 colors now. So, but that's what I'm sticking with, is just 88 colors, and I'm working with that. But yeah, so it's sort of, I guess. It's not entirely retro. It's just kind of a bunch of things combined together. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it this week. I mean, hopefully, I'm gonna play some stuff on the PlayStation 4 next week before I get shipped out, and then I'll just be working on my game while it's gone. Well, actually, no, I take that back. There was one game I purchased today that I will probably go back and play, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, so I'll be playing some more stuff hopefully this week.
Okie dokie. My gaming week. I've been insanely busy with, I took the trip to Vegas. I'm going to BlizzCon in a couple weeks. I know, poor me, all these trips, but it can still kind of take its toll on you with being busy. And then I have my final Rocky show, which I talked about a couple weeks ago at the end of the show. I have that coming up on Halloween. So I've been pretty insanely busy. I have been squeezing in some video games here and there. So I do have a few things to talk about. Final Fantasy 14, which, going to the Fan Fest, it did re-energize, despite the problems I had with it. It definitely re-energized my love of the game and how into it I am. And they've got a brand new content patch coming on Tuesday that's going to add the Shiva battle. Will finally be in there, the last primal battle for this expansion, and some new dungeons, some other new features. So I'm really kind of pumped getting ready for that with that releasing on Tuesday. With some non-MMO games, I played Peggle 2 on our week off because that came out on the PlayStation Marketplace. That's been out for a while for the Xbox One folks because that's been exclusive, but it finally came out for PlayStation 4. So I've been playing a little bit of that, which, to be expected, a lot like Peggle 1, but they throw in some new little things like armored blocks, which I don't remember seeing in the first one. You have to hit them twice before they disappear. Like, I've kind of seen that in some Breakout clone games, but didn't really see that in the first Peggle. So, it's a very familiar formula, but it works well. And the game's definitely on crack like the first one was. Like the horse that literally will like fart like little rainbows and things like that. Very silly types of stuff. So cute to see that. Other games. Friday was a big game release day. There was a couple of them that came out, and I've gotten to spend a little time with each of these. Civilization Beyond Earth would be the first one, which, as you know, I love Civilization. The original is probably my favorite PC game ever, and I've been following with the series through Civilization 5. And, at E3, I was fortunate enough to check out a sneak peek of Civilization Beyond Earth, and I was ready to put down the money right there. So I picked up Civilization Beyond Earth, which, a lot of people will look at it and go, it just looks like Civ 5 in space, which on a purely kind of like just visual level, it probably does look like that. But the game has a little more depth than that.
Oh, the one screenshot I saw looked really weird. I'm like, this doesn't look like Civilization.
Well, I think that's the hardest thing people are having with it, is that Civilization has that familiarity with it. You're going to research guns because I want to be able to make gunners and musket men that can shoot the enemy. I'm going to fight people like Queen Elizabeth and Gandhi and Abe Lincoln and all these very familiar things. Civilization has that very sense of familiarity with it. Civilization Beyond Earth has none of that, because it's all about science fiction and what could be the future, and what it's, if you ever played Alpha Centauri, was very much like that too. So Beyond Earth in some ways is a spiritual successor to Alpha Centauri. One of the big game-changing things it does is that there's not just the land on the planet, but there's the land in orbit, because you actually will fire some things into orbit because you have to, let's say you have to clear what they call miasma, or just poison. You might have to clear poison from squares. Although miasma may not really be poison, depending on how you kind of take the approach to the game. I'll just kind of leave it at that. Something else, the alien race. The first time I played the game, I went, oh, these aliens are like barbarians in Civilization. Kill them all, kill them all, kill them all. But as you start to play through the game the first time, you start to realize there's a path you can go down where you can coexist with the aliens instead of necessarily blowing them away. So it was kind of one of those very interesting kind of self-check sort of things where my instinct was to just immediately kill the aliens, because that is what Civilization has taught me, is kill the intruders, but that may not necessarily always be the case. The technology system is completely different, and there's this whole new system in there, and I apologize, I don't have a guide that tells me what everything is officially called in the game, but there's some type of system that involves harmony and purity and these different types of how do you want your civilization to coexist on the planet, and that really drives the victory conditions for the game, which will also throw you for a loop if you're a Civ player, because the victory conditions are not what you're used to before. You can still win through military dominance, but everything else has changed. So that took me a little bit to get used to at first. I think there's enough in this game that differentiates it from Civ 5. Not everybody's going to like that differentiation, but I think it makes for an interesting and different experience that I think is worth the money. I don't know if necessarily the game is going to end up being superior to Civ 5, but it's a really great holdover, at least until Civ 6, if you're a Civilization fan, I think. Which, come on, we all know Civ 6 is going to happen at some point. It's just a matter of time, right? So, let's see. Also, in my gaming week, one other thing to mention, Bayonetta 2 came out for the Wii U on Friday, and I did pick that up. Haven't got to play a whole lot. I only really played through the prologue and then the first chapter and a little bit of the second chapter, so I can't really speak at length about the game, but it was all the excess and over the top. I mean, even in just the first opening scenes in New York City at Christmas time, just such excess, over the top hilarity that I loved in the original Bayonetta game, and I'm having a great time with it. And if you're not very good at action games like me, they've totally dumbed down a mode where basically it'll just do the combos for you, so you can literally just button mash your way through Bayonetta. But if you don't want to do that, there's more.
Well, I think they have that
intense skill
the
levels
one
too.
button mode, wasn't that
They
in the
did.
first game?
Yeah, first climate. I believe that was in the first game. I just I don't think I played it that way because I think somebody else had introduced
Which I
me to
actually
it.
read there was some they were saying like some group of disabled gamers or something were saying like that's fantastic because now I can play this game without having to
That is very cool. That's very cool. And there's a whole touchscreen control thing too. I haven't really played at that with any extent. Again, I haven't got to spend a lot of time with the game, but I know that is there as well if that's something people want to do. So I realize there's a lot of people really pissed off that Bayonetta 2 did not come out for PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, that it is a Wii U exclusive, but this is the type of Wii U exclusive that Nintendo really needed in their back pocket. So suck it up. This is what video game competition is about, and this is going to make the Wii U. And I think somebody had asked earlier in chat, is this a Game of the Year contender? It's a little early for me to say personally, but the vibe I'm getting out there on Twitter and the other reviews and so forth is it very well may be. Which the Wii U may not have a lot of games on it, but it sure produces a lot of very highly reviewed games. So definitely something worth looking into. So. All right, that was it for my gaming week. Some housekeeping we have here coming up. So, of course, follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/OLR, and we're also on Facebook, facebook.com/orangeloungeradio, Google+, google.com/+orangeloungeradio, and on YouTube as well, youtube.com/orangeloungeradio. Follow us on all those fantastic websites. Some housekeeping. Even though I was gone just this last weekend, guess what, guys? I'm really sorry, but I'm going to be at another convention, November 9th, 10th. I don't remember what the show day is in there, but it's the second weekend of November. It's basically in 2 weeks. So unfortunately, there will be no live show that night. But good news for podcast listeners, really pushing for us to tape something in advance that week so you at least won't have to go the entire week with no OLR again. That's just the way things worked out. I'm going to BlizzCon and Final Fantasy Fan Fest, but that'll be it. No more conventions for me for the year after that. So it just happens that they're all kind of back to back. I will say this, though. I gave really deep thought to that PlayStation convention that's happening in Vegas. You heard about that, right? That was all announced while we were out. Did you hear about this? The PlayStation convention that they're going to do in Vegas?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Sony's putting on their own event in Vegas, and I really wanted to go. I just don't think I'm going to be able to make it work financially and with the time away from my day job because I'm doing so much this past month. I wish I'd had more time. I wish they gave more notice so I could have prepared more. I hope those of you guys that do go have a fantastic time, however. All right, speaking of PlayStation, I think we're going to start off the news tonight with some PS news. Right, Loki?
Yes. So this is pretty cool that I just got a system, and now they're going to be rolling out that 2.0 update that's going to add a bunch of cool stuff, including that share play, which was the thing that they were talking about originally when they debuted the PlayStation 4, where basically you can connect up with somebody else and do several different things, including either playing a couch co-op game with them over the internet, which is pretty awesome, or you can literally what they call pass the controller, so you can have someone play one of your games that they don't even own and they don't even need a copy of over the internet. And so that's going to be pretty cool. It's coming out on Tuesday, October 28th. Along with that, they're going to be also doing the ability to play music from USB drives connected to the console. And trying to see what other features that they have in there. I'm sure a whole bunch of other stuff. Dedicated YouTube app as well. So yeah, a few more days and we'll have this.
I am very much looking forward to this. I think that share play sounds awesome. You know, I know they announced this when the PlayStation 4 was first unveiled and they got a lot of shit for not having it out until now. I kind of wasn't even expecting it to get out this soon, and now that I kind of hear about it, like if it really works as well as it seems to, that's going to be a game changer, pun intended. You know, that's going to be a really interesting way to try out new games with your friends online. That's
It's almost like what Microsoft was talking about with the Xbox One. You know, how they wanted to have that library that you could share with friends and stuff like that. It's almost like kind of how they're implementing it there. I'd be interested to see if that's something that they end up doing, you know, on the Xbox One, you know, later on down the road, calling it something else and just kind of piggybacking on the idea.
Yeah.
I guess if it works out.
Yeah. Also very, very curious, just as, you know, somebody who does a lot of the broadcasting things, as I know many of you do, I'm very curious to see what these enhancements to the Twitch and the YouTube integration, all that entails. So that's going to be really cool. I like the fact that we will be able to directly put things on YouTube now instead of me having to copy what I do in Share Factory to my drive and then taking it over to the computer, doing that whole thing. So that's going to be neat.
Yeah.
Looking forward
I
to
wonder if they're going to enable YouTube live streaming, because I know that they have that.
That is a thing, huh?
Yeah.
I keep forgetting that YouTube does have live streaming, but it's basically the same thing as Google Hangouts, pretty much, isn't it?
Sort of. I don't know.
Sort of.
The like only other like show that I watch on a weekly basis, Cooking with Unity, they do their shows live, and so they broadcast them live on YouTube, and then they have the archive up literally, minutes later. So it would be cool to see something like that. Just because I don't know, I don't really use Twitch, but I guess I will. I had a Justin TV account, so I hope that got transitioned over at some point. I'm sure it did.
If you were marked as a games channel, then it did. If you didn't, then it didn't. So.
I think I've created a secondary one. If I did, I don't ever use it, so whatever.
All right. Well, moving on to some other news. Some big news that came out this week in the Wii U world. One of the other big games for this holiday season, besides just Bayonetta 2, is Smash Brothers Wii U. And until now, I feel like we've been kind of given the impression that there wasn't going to be a lot of differences between the 3DS and the Wii U versions, which makes sense. They want to sell a lot of copies of the 3DS version, but then they announced this Nintendo Direct with 50 things that will be unique to the Wii U version, and I gotta say, the cynic in me was like, oh, it will be 8 new colors for these new characters, and those will be the 50 things, right? But then the thing happened, and it was like, wow, there is a lot of new stuff that just kind of made the 3DS version really feel like a demo in some ways. I mean, I know the 3DS version has its supporters. We got into this conversation a few weeks ago. Portability has its perks, and there's only so much you can put in that 3DS system, right? So, I mean, for the 3DS, it's still a heck of a value.
It'd be kind of weird to see what they could pull off on like a Vita or something with that same game, being that it has a little bit more processing muscle.
Right, yeah. But, so here's some of the new stuff that's coming to the Wii U version. First off, the big one that had everybody talking, 8-player battles. 8 people all playing each other. That is going to be crazy.
Is that locally?
I believe it is locally and across. I don't want to misrepresent that, though. Hold on. I have a little story on this.
If it's over the internet, that might be pretty cool. Locally, it's one of those things like I never have 8 people over.
Well, it would also explain why the 3DSs can be used as controllers. That's how you can get more people in there. Players can use as many as 8 Nintendo 3DSs or 8 GameCube controllers, but there are some restrictions. Only 7 Wii remotes or Wii U Pro controllers can be used simultaneously, and Super Smash Bros. For Wii U only supports a single tablet gamepad, so that's how that'll work.
And nothing in the face of the earth supports 2 tablet gamepads.
By the way, 8-player battles have their own stages that will support 8 people, because those are going to be, as you can imagine, quite a mess with all those people in them. There's going to be a new board game mode called Smash Tour. There's going to be a ton of trophies. Masterpieces mode returns from Brawl, which is basically demos of all the virtual console games that everybody was in. Something. The Stage Builder returns, which you might have forgot was in Brawl.
I remember that. I made a stage.
But you can now build your own stages in this game as well. And if you have both of the 3DS and the Wii U version, you can get a 2-disc soundtrack if you register them both on Club Nintendo. And DLC character, a new challenger approaches, Mewtwo, going to be added to the game in spring of 2015. They weren't able to show him in Kombat, but they announced that he would come. Still, this opens the door to, well, if they're going to do that one as DLC, there's going to be more. So who knows? What
Hey,
could
your
I
favorite characters that didn't show up in this one.
all
they're
those
back.
pressed Lucas fans and Ice Climbers fans, all the characters that got cut might end up getting something after all. And who knows? I mean, maybe the people that are saying, oh, God, I'd love to see Bayonetta in the game. Anything's possible at this point, right? So DLC characters are going to be a thing. So that's pretty cool. I mean, I was already going to buy it anyway, assuming it was just kind of a clone of the 3DS version, but it would be on my TV and in HD, and I'd be able to say it when it was. But then, like, after seeing this Direct, I was just like rubbing my credit card on the screen and it's not doing anything type of thing. So I'm very excited about this. Very, very excited about this. Low-key.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm hoping that they do something. Maybe they'll bring back Snake. Everyone's hoping for Snake to come back, even though there's no Metal Gear games on the Wii U, and right now it doesn't look like there's going to be. And I don't think they're going to be bringing back any of the Assassins, since Ubisoft is actually going to be... Hey, Rayman would be a good character. Speaking of Ubisoft here, Jade Raymond has actually decided to leave the company. Now, she was, attached to a lot of really big franchises at Ubisoft, including, she started off with the Assassin's Creed series, and then, of course, Splinter Cell and Watch Dogs, that kind of stuff. Well, now, after 10 years being at the company, she's decided to, part ways and kind of, I guess, leading, going on a different path. I don't know what exactly. Maybe she is going the whole indie route, because it seems to be that's where all these people are going, after they depart these companies for like a long time. It's like, oh, hey, I want to work on this. Or
Very well could be. Let me ask the question that I'm sure some cynics are asking, and I kind of don't believe this to be true, but I'm going to say it anyway. Could this be related to the foot-in-mouth Assassin's Creed comment about it's too hard to render female characters?
I don't think so, because I don't think she was working on that one. I don't think she was part of... Because she started on the first Assassin's Creed game, but I don't think she was on the latest one.
Yeah, I don't...
I don't think... And let's be
But
honest.
people are saying that on Twitter, so I just had to bring it up.
It's okay. It's not... obviously, it's not harder to render those characters. It's just... It's extra work to create, new characters or something. It's just something that they've got to do. They're cutting corners on a lot of these things. I mean, I don't know. Whatever. It's just take it as it is. They don't want to put a female character in their game. That's it. Done. Whatever. I mean, not every single game on the face of the earth has to have a female character that's playable in the game. Same with male character. Not every single game out there has to have a male character playable in the game. Where's my male Samus and, Metroid? I mean, it doesn't matter. It's whatever the game that they want to make has this character in it. It doesn't have to be fucking equal across the board.
Well, I think what was problematic about that whole thing was more the way they answered it. Like, they should have
yes, it was
They should have
stupid.
just said, this particular story is going to be a male narrative, and we didn't render other characters for the co-op mode. They did not want to admit that they didn't want to render all these other characters for the co-op mode. Like that's really what it came down to. But anyway, that's a months old debate. It's pointless.
Yeah,
at this point.
it's stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, it's dumb. But whatever, it is what it is. Yeah. So.
All right, well, let's travel around the world and check out some release dates of some games that are coming out very soon, of which, ironically, isn't the new Assassin's Creed on deck for the U.S. this week? I could be wrong. It's really soon.
You would have been right if they hadn't moved the dates.
I didn't realize they moved it.
Yeah, because they wanted to put it out at the same time as the Assassin's Creed Rogue game, which is coming out later in November on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. But since, it's not coming out right then, that they just didn't do it. But anyways, so this week, a game that I probably would have picked up had I bought an Xbox One, but Sunset Overdrive coming out on Xbox One, one of the best looking games I think out of E3 this year. So that's something to look forward to picking up this week, and hopefully they go the route of like they did with Rise and Dead Rising, where sure it's exclusive to the Xbox One, but we're gonna see a PC version sometime. Lords of the Fallen on Xbox One and PlayStation 4. We've got Disney's Big Hero 6 on 3DS and Nintendo DS. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Ninja Mutant.
No. This is almost the same title as the movie, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Danger of the Ooze. It's a new game coming out on Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, and I think the 3DS. Freedom Wars from Sony coming out on the Vita. Probably was going to be like the last like Vita game that they're going to put out from Sony there. Assassin's Creed: The Americas Collection, which is a re-release of Assassin's Creed 4 and Assassin's Creed. Was it 3?
America Collection.
America, and then
comes with
Liberation as well. So that's going to be coming out on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. No Wii U, sorry. MX vs. ATV Supercross on PS3 and 360. And let's see, WWE 2K15 on PlayStation 3, Xbox 360. And I want to say it's on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Although maybe that was delayed. I think that was delayed. Okay. And then also delayed, NBA Live 15 coming out on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Hopefully this year doesn't suck. And Power Rangers Super Mega Force. They're just making up names now. And that's on 3DS. And The Legend of Korra, A New Era Begins on 3DS because that was the only game that actually got a physical release. All the other ones were digitally. That's it.
All right, traveling over to Japan and checking out the releases there on the PlayStation 4 this week. Metro Redo is on the PlayStation 4, and Onichambara Z2 Chaos. Hey, there's something you can import for the PS4, Loki.
Hey, you better believe it that I am importing Earth Defense Force 4, or whatever the hell they're calling the new one on PlayStation 4.
Of course. On the Xbox One in Japan this week, Metro Redo is there as well, and Sunset Overdrive Day 1 Edition. It also sees its Japanese release this coming week. On the PlayStation 3 this week, Borderlands the pre-sequel makes its way to Japan. We got it first here in the States, but Japan's getting it this coming week. That is also happening on the Xbox 360 for all those Japanese 360 owners. On the Wii U, sadly nothing to report. The next big release over there is on November the 13th. So things are a little dry there on the Wii U front. But on the 3DS, there's Eliminage Ibun Ame no Mihashira Kai comes out this week from Starfish. This game is... I'm trying to figure out what this is. There's no screenshots or nothing. It just looks like anime characters holding swords and a cute little like cat avatar character. So maybe somebody in chat knows a little more about this than I do. But there's no screenshots or anything for me to tell you what that game's all about. So let's travel over to Europe. Darkstalker's not here tonight, but I am, so I will tell you about what is coming out in Europe. And on the 28th, we have MX versus ATV Supercross on PC, Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and Mac. I believe I saw this one at E3. It was like a little racing game, but of course it uses like the motorcycles. Kind of felt like what Iron Man's Super Off-Road might look like in motorcycles in 3D. That's kind of what it looked like to me.
Which one?
Kind of neat. You remember Iron Man?
MX. What was it?
MX versus ATV Supercross. There's other games in this series.
This is the first one that I think they've put out since Nordic took them over because it used to be THQs.
Correct. It is. On the 29th, you have Freedom Wars on the Vita, and The Unfinished Swan gets its PlayStation 4 and Vita release. And then on the 30th of October, Farming Simulator 15 on the PC. I know we got Farming Simulator fans out there.
If you want it on consoles, coming out in January.
Did you know I took a picture of something Farming Simulator. They had like a cute mascot or something at E3, and they got some Twitter rando that was like, "Tell me more." I was like, "Dang, Farming Simulator has some hardcore fans out there."
They seriously do, and I think their first version that's going to be on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, or maybe just PlayStation 4, that's coming out in January. So,
and do not confuse it with Farmville, or they will kick your ass. All right. Icewind Dale Enhanced Edition on PC and Mac. And on Halloween or the 31st of October in Europe, Sunset Overdrive, Walking Dead Season 1 for Xbox One, Walking Dead Game of the Year Edition for PlayStation 4, Walking Dead Season 2 for PlayStation 4, Walking Dead Season 2 for Xbox One, and WWE 2K15, PS3, and Xbox 360.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One versions were delayed to November now that I think of it.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that happened while I was still working at my old company.
Ah, gotcha. Did you start the new job already, by the way? Are you still in your break?
No, I was an alternate for the first class, and because it's such a good company, everybody showed up. But hey, I got paid for 2 hours, even though I was there for only like 5 minutes, so it's all good.
Dope. So
but I do start officially on the 5th.
There you go. All right, that's not too
and I'm not an alternate this time, first in line. So
awesome.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to a few more news stories, and then the classic game of the week, which, when Dark Soccer's not here, we take it over, and it was Loki's turn this week to pick classic game of the week. So Loki's going to pick one in just a minute here, but first, some news.
This should be just filed under, like, you got to be fucking stupid to do this in the first place, but you did it, so suffer the consequences. But apparently, a guy, Mike Mailbag, who is an indie developer who... part of an indie development team, I guess. They created a game called Paranautical Activity. It was a Steam game, like a first-person shooter, voxel-looking, retro-styled game or something. And he had some issues where, I guess, they were doing like a sale or something to that effect, and it was listing the game as early access, even though it wasn't an early access game. It was early access at one point, but now it's like the full version of the game. And he got... really miffed that he couldn't, change that. And so he did what any, sane, logical person would do. He went to Twitter and said, I'm going to go kill Gabe Newell. He is going to die. And apparently, people don't like that sort of thing. So Valve pulled the game off of, the sale, and they, ceased their relationship with the developer.
Good. What a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Sorry, not sorry. What a fucking idiot.
They're like, we don't want to do business with people that make death threats. So sorry, and of course, later on, the Mike Mailbag guy, he's basically leaving the developer Code Avarice, and he sold his half of the company, and he won't be making any money from it, distancing himself as far away from it as he can. But you gotta be fucking stupid. Like seriously, just. I understand you're frustrated, but, if you're going to say, like, oh, I'm going to fucking kill those guys at Valve, do it in not a public forum if you're going to make those kind of things. Like, say it to yourself and shake your fist at the sky or something, but just, don't,
especially with the state of gaming and social media the past couple months. And y'all know what I'm talking about. I don't have to get into it, all right? But especially with how volatile everything has been. We've been in Code Orange, right? Okay, if gaming had an alert system, we'd be in Code Orange right now, especially as how volatile everything has been in the industry. Haven't we learned yet that making death threats is not okay ever? And for somebody who develops games to be doing that is just get out of the pool. And out.
And you do realize that Gabe Newell isn't the only person that works at Valve that's, he's not behind a computer setting up your fucking game and shit,
right?
For the sales and stuff. It's not this one dude in
even if you knew the guy that did it or gal that did it, still not okay. I want to make that perfectly clear. But, everybody at Valve does everything, though. Wasn't that nobody has a title at Valve, right?
Yeah.
Except for Gabe.
Whatever. But, yeah, so game pulled off there, but, of course, he's just like, it's no big deal. It's, we sold 12 copies off of Steam, so we're going to be okay. Whatever. But, yes, just a lesson in common sense, as if we even need to tell you, just don't make death threats.
Tiger Claw in chat says, these people have to understand that Twitter isn't a place to be venting out frustrations over something because it will cost you your job. This is true in a lot of different facets. And just, with social media becoming more and more a part of culture, I'm just telling you, in general, this even goes beyond video games. If you are really fucking pissed off about something, anything, if you are really, really mad about something, put your goddamn phone down. Put it down, put it away, get it far away from you so that you are not tempted to write something stupid. And I'm not even just talking about death threats, but just stupid shit, complaining about where you work, where you have a public Twitter, where your company may be big enough where they have social media people that search Twitter for the name. I mean, that kind of shit can get you in so much trouble. It's just a life lesson here. When you are pissed off, get away from your computer ASAP, whether it's gaming or anything. So now, of course, if you can do it in a reasonable manner, because sometimes you can complain to companies like, tweet at Taco Bell, that quesarito really sucked, or something like that. That's a little bit different.
That quesarito makes me want to die. Really, it's
true story. I had a quesarito today for the first time. I got through 2 bites before I was like, this is fucking disgusting. Anyway.
Quesarito or quesarito on the potty. I don't know. Can't make a pun joke with that.
Our pal Bobby Blackwolf in chat saying there was so much I wanted to say this morning on something not VOG related, and I had to put the phone down. Jason in chat says super good advice. Spread happy, not vitriol. Cial suggests always keep accounts set to private. I kind of feel like, though, that might not always be an option. I feel like I have more to gain from a public account because I have these public-facing things that I do, but I do try really hard to keep my work life and my OLR podcasting life or whatever separate from the rest of my life.
But Bobby, don't you know they cast the shows differently in London than they do over here? I mean, after all, there is the UK office and the US office, right? Sorry, I feel for you, man. That's terrible.
All right, it's like all right. Anyway, let's move on. Talking about 3D Realms. 3D Realms is of course, a classic PC publisher, and so many great games from back in the day, like Duke Nukem, of course. Back when Duke Nukem was a side scroller.
Hell yeah.
Commander Keen, also amazing.
When am I getting my next gen Commander Keen game?
I don't know. Well, maybe if they sell enough copies of this, because the 3D Realms anthology is now available at 3drealms.com, and it's a collection that has games like Duke Nukem 3D, Shadow Warrior, Commander Keen Goodbye Galaxy, Wolfenstein 3D, Rise of the Triad, Dark War, and all these other classic games. It's in a DRM free package.
Where's my Redneck Rampage? Didn't they do that one? I thought that was in the Duke Nukem 3D engine.
I will look here, but there are some games available for free. So if you want to check out Alien Carnage, Major Striker, and Star Gunner, I mean, come on, they're not going to give away Commander Keen for free, but these other games, you can get those for free. Now, the article I'm reading says that the pack is $19.99, but actually looking on the site, it's $39.99, so I'm not sure if it was like on sale for a couple days, and then they raised the price back up, but it's $39.99 for the anthology. So you can check that out. But, I mean, that's a lot of classic games available there. So now, just so you know, 3D Realms, the staff has been gone since 2008 because remember, like Gearbox had to pick up Duke Nukem and all that, right? Duke Nukem and the other PC franchises, they did retain the rights to this. Developer Interceptor Entertainment, who made Rise of the Triad, acquired Apogee Software earlier this year, so now they control the associated IP and branding. It's complicated. Who owns all that stuff? That's why there isn't a new Commander Keen game.
The next time another Duke Nukem game comes out, I'm still going to forget who owns what.
And Dungeon Buster in chat says Redneck Rampage was pubbed by Interplay. So it was a little bit different arrangement there. So, again, makes things complicated.
Damn it. Redneck Rampage would be perfect for a remake.
Yeah.
Let's somebody get a Devolver Digital on that.
All right, well, let's take a walk down memory lane here in a segment we call the Classic Game of the Week. And as you know, Dark Sakura will usually step into the vault and pick out a game that she thinks is worthy of being a classic. And hey, you guys should be playing this game this week. So the rules to be a Classic Game of the Week is that the game has to be 10 years old or more. That is what we call a classic game. Dark Sakura, of course, is not here tonight. So I think I filled in for her the past 2 or 3 times. So I was like, you know what, Loki, it's well past your turn. Loki tonight is going to pick the Classic Game of the Week with Dark Sakura moving this week. So Loki, what is the Classic Game of the Week?
The Classic Game of the Week just turned 10 years old today.
10 years old today.
Today is the 10th anniversary of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. One of the best PlayStation 2, Xbox 3D action games ever. It was seriously the best Grand Theft Auto game up until 4 and 5, and had one of the largest maps in the whole game. Basically came out October 26, 2004 on PlayStation 2, later in June the following year on Xbox 360 or Xbox the original Xbox, and PC. Ironically enough, they actually re-released it today on Xbox 360 in the HD version, which you can pick up for the price of the games on demand version, which is only like $374. It's ridiculously cheap. So go check that out. But the game followed around kind of an ex-gangbanger, CJ. He comes home after, his mom's been murdered, back to Los Santos, which is kind of the modern day, or L.A. And the whole game is set in the 90s, which is cool. And it had one of the greatest soundtracks ever. But anyways, he comes back and, finds, the gang's kind of, just torn apart, and he has to regroup his gang and fight against cops and find out who actually murdered his mother and stuff like that. And what's kind of cool is the game takes place not only in it takes place in the fictional state of San Andreas, which is like California and Nevada, and takes place in Los Santos, which is kind of L.A., San Fierro, which is San Francisco-ish, and Las Venturas, which is kind of like Las Vegas. So it was the first time it was like a multi-city game, which is pretty awesome. It was one of the best-selling games of, it became one of the best-selling games on PlayStation 2, 27 million copies. And it's still the best-selling game, or one of the best-selling games of all time. And, it is the best-selling game of all time on PlayStation 2, so that's pretty awesome. Of course, one of the things that made the game, I guess, infamous was the fact that there was kind of some content that was taken out of the game that later modders found, which kind of brought this whole controversy with the ESRB, known as the Hot Coffee mod, where it's a hidden sex game that they were going to have in the game. Since you can date a bunch of people in the actual game, you can make girlfriends and stuff like that. It was also the first Grand Theft Auto game that featured co-op, and not a lot of people realize this, but you can actually, if you date those girlfriends, you can go out and have a person with you playing on the second controller, and you can go shoot up stuff in Grand Theft Auto. And it is awesome. So yes, they've had it's been released on a bunch of different platforms. Aside from the original release on PlayStation 2 and on the original Xbox, it's been released on Mac, Xbox Live Arcade, PlayStation Network. They also did some of these HD versions on iOS, Android, Windows Phone, Kindle, that kind of stuff. And they said, of course, they just took down the original game off of the Xbox Live store, and they were saying that they're going to re-release an enhanced version to celebrate the 10th anniversary. Well, that was released today, so pretty awesome. And
do you know what is mind-fucking me right now? Because we talk about this game turned 10 years old today, right? And this game was highly controversial because of the Hot Coffee mod.
Yeah.
Okay, get this. Episode 28 of the Orange Lounge Radio To Go edition, back when it was a separate thing, taped July 11th, 2005. One of our top stories, Rockstar investigated by the ESRB over hot coffee. And then episode 29 on July 18th of 2005 was a follow-up about this whole thing. I was like, I remember this was like an early thing we talked about on OLR, like when it was first a podcast. I
have the hot coffee version of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas on PlayStation 2.
Oh my God.
It's awesome. But yeah, they had a bunch of other features in the game. Of course, tons of vehicles in there. It was the first time, I believe they had airplanes in there. Also, they had a jetpack which was hidden in the game, which is kind of fun. You can sneak into like an Area 51 type thing. All sorts of weapons. You can swim underwater. It's the first game to add BMX bikes, so you can do tricks and stuff with your BMX bike if you really wanted to. Just like all this extra stuff. They had a bunch of different kind of RPG elements like gang wars. You can mod your car. A bunch of different side missions, burglary. Lots of fun stuff like that.
And Hitstone wants to know, why is the background music replaced by dialogue? Put on Radio Los Santos or something. We're actually doing that because we don't want to get copyright strikes on YouTube, because a lot of the music in the game was notable for being a lot of great licensed songs.
Yes.
So unfortunately, we don't want to replay that. So sorry, you guys get the very coarse dialogue from the game that many people remember. All sorts of S and other bombs galore in the background there.
Yes, and of course won a bunch of game awards. There, 2004 Spike TV Video Game Awards. It was the Game of the Year, Best Performance by a Human Male, Best Action Game, Best Soundtrack. They even had like a lot of big names in there. I want to say Samuel L. Jackson did like Officer Tenpenny in there. I'm trying to remember all the different actors that are in there, but there's just a lot of different people in the game. But yeah, great game. I mean, it was one of those games that I took off work to go play. And every single, actually, I want to say I've done that with every single Grand Theft Auto game. Yeah, and then of course, one of the big games that I want to say, even like the ESRB and I want to say Jack Thompson were even kind of rallying behind this. Was the reason why you should be banning games because they're terrible, and I don't know. But yeah, so that's it. Yeah.
All right, there it is, your classic game of the week, just by a hair, on its 10th birthday, the day it becomes eligible. There it is, Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, here we go.
San
Here we go.
Andreas.
Here's a list of some of the celebrities in there. Yeah. David Cross, Andy Dick, Ron Foster, Samuel L. Jackson, James Woods, Peter Fonda, Charlie Murphy, Frank Vincent, Chris Penn, Dan Dyer, Sarah Tanaka, Will Wheaton was in there. They had different rappers: Ice-T, Chuck D, Frost, MC Ite. Also, the game: George Clinton, Axl Rose, Sly and Robbie, Sean Ryder, Young Melee. I mean, there's Young Melee, of course, did Carl. And hopefully, with this being the 10th anniversary and stuff, and Grand Theft Auto 5 also taking place in Los Santos, that we're going to get some sort of DLC. I think CJ is going to be coming back. So
you think some type of crossover might be
I think so.
That'd be cool.
Hopefully.
That'd be cool. Maybe on the 10th anniversary of the hot coffee controversy, just in time for that. They should call it that. They should call it like
hot coffee,
the cappuccino mod, or like something that like references it without saying it. That would crack me the hell up.
Yeah.
We'll see. Of course, then again, if you're a rock star, you probably want to get the hell away from all that
exactly.
business. All right, there it is, your classic game of the week. Of course, Loki picked Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. But you know what? It really is. I mean, I saw a comment in the chat room here that was, I don't like this game. What is this? Something. Oh, here it is. Bochikawa says, great choice. Don't like the game, but great choice. I mean, even people that weren't so into this, you kind of recognize what a huge title it was in gaming, and the fact that you managed to do it on its 10th birthday. That's pretty good.
It just happened to work out that way.
Yeah. All right. Well, there it is, part A of our show, but we've got plenty more Orange Lounge Radio to come. We have more news, the Fugal question of the week, and oh, by the way, did I mention the retro guys that were on the show earlier? They left behind a little giveaway, something. So we'll give you some details on that when we come back with more of Orange Lounge Radio right after this. Welcome back, everybody, to Orange Lounge Radio live tonight with our 572nd episode, October the 26th of 2014. And if you're tuning in to hear our interview with Read Retro Magazine, you're too late. It happened already. It was in the first part of the show, but don't worry, it will be on the podcast feed later tonight after we wrap up the show. And that was a great interview there with Mike and Mark from Retro Magazine. In fact, I think Mark is still in our chat room there. So if you guys have any other questions or so forth, you can ask Mark, who's in our chat there right now. And I will say this, those guys over at Retro Magazine were kind enough to leave behind for us to give away a year subscription to the print version of the magazine. So we're going to be giving that away. We'll open that up to both our live and our podcast listeners so that everything is fair. So check out that a little later, because I want to give that away around our Fugal question of the week, because our Fugal question of the week kind of ties in to this as well, the whole retro stuff. Anyway, speaking of retro, so during the break tonight, I played some scary songs to go along with the fact that Halloween is this Friday. You gonna do any trick or treating with the kids, or probably still too young? Or
I'm not. I'm staying home with the baby, but my son's going out as Captain America, so he's going out with his friend from preschool.
That'll be fun. So in Halloween, I played some scary songs, and one of them that I played was a retro classic that I loved. There you go, Friday the 13th, which had a great soundtrack.
Yes.
Like, even if you hated the game, the soundtrack was still pretty awesome there. And so we played that during the break tonight. And it kind of had me thinking about like that game and how, it really gets shit on, I think, in a lot of people's memory. But I kind of enjoyed it. Like, it used to legit scare the hell out of me. And I think it was because the music was so good. Like, when you were in the little because like you would go around, if you never played it, you played counselors at a camp trying to prevent Jason from killing either the other counselors or the children that for some reason lived in the middle of the lake. I guess they figured that was the safest spot to put them in. So you played these counselors and went around. So when you would actually go into the other cabins and like come across Jason, like it would scare the hell out of me because like you actually be going through and is that very like the NES like style 3D where it's like move forward, it's a big old jump, turn left, like the whole screen changes, and then all of a sudden it would go boom, 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 and like Jason would come out of nowhere and you have to fight him, and usually he'd kick your ass because that game was really, really hard.
Yeah, it's funny because you could run away from him, I think, and then he would actually chase after you in like the 2D sections of the game as well.
Yeah, and you could and then sometimes he would be in the lake. You'd be rowing across the lake, and he'd just be in the lake, and it would be boom, 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 and you couldn't do shit about it. You couldn't hurt him or anything. So. And then when you would kill Jason, of course, he came back like at least 2 more times before you officially beat the game. So that game was like impossible. Any classic games that get dumped on, Loki, that everybody seems to hate, but you seem to appreciate? Like, why does everybody hate this game but me? Not to put you on the spot. I didn't prep you on this topic, so just curious if anything comes to mind. I'll ask this of our chat room as well over at live.vognetwork.com. Is there any retro classic everybody shits on? But you're like, it wasn't that bad. Leave it alone.
Honestly, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that was like that. I'm sure there's something that I liked that a lot of people didn't like. I don't know.
There were games I liked that I feel like nobody's ever heard of. Like on the Super Nintendo, one of my favorite games to this day was Equinox, which was the sequel to Solstice. I think a lot of people knew that one on the NES, but it was a rare Sony game because remember, Sony didn't start making consoles so Sony published this game on the Super Nintendo, and it was amazing. It was that whole like 3D isometric thing. Mm-hmm. But I don't think people hated that game. There's probably nobody ever heard of it. So let's see. Some folks in chat talking about Friday the 13th. Mark from Retro says LJN's only good game, I think. Act Def says LJN had some good games, but they were mostly crap. Act Def is suggesting Earth Defense Force 2017.
But people like that, though. Yes, no one's arguing that it's a high-quality game. That's not the case. Everybody that plays it, they have fun with it. That's the thing. And no one, obviously if you're going to read a review score, it's like, well, this graphics suck. The physics are terrible. Yeah, of course. Those are all true facts about that game. It's just fun, though. You just play it because it's fun.
Dungeon Buster says Deadly Towers. Controls took some getting used to, but once you figured some things out, it was not quite as horrible as some others. Let's see. Rama says a notable LJN game was Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Oh, I remember that one. Mark from Retro says, my favorite Resident Evil was Outbreak 1 and 2 for PlayStation 2. So underrated. Let's see. Kaijudo says, the Nightmare on Elm Street game with 4-player co-op was my favorite, and people shit on it. Back to the Future 2 is another one for me.
Oh, wait. Back to the Future 2 on NES?
Yeah.
Even Back to the Future 2 and 3, but it's... Yeah, I bought that game because I'm like, oh, that looks sweet, because Back to the Future 1 looked pretty awesome, as an NES game, and I played 2 and 3, I'm like, God, these are fucking terrible. And it's just like so terrible. And I got the cheat code to get the Back to the Future 3. I'm like, oh, cool, it's Back to the Future 3. Oh, wait, it's still fucking terrible.
Let's see. SG100 Matt says, I know plenty of people who didn't like Thexter. That was one of the few games I grew up with on my i286. Now, Continues in our chat room flips this around a little bit, saying everyone loves the first Silent Hill, but I think it's not that great. Well, we could have a whole nother conversation on what game is fucking overrated. But we'll have to have that on another episode because we have some rapid fire news to get into.
Let's be fair though. I say it's overrated, but honestly, I've never played it.
What game?
Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina of Time. See,
I just don't like the look of it. I mean,
okay. Now we're gonna get emails. Now we're gonna get emails.
No. Stop. Here's a game that people don't like that I like a lot, and that would be Legend of Zelda: Wind Waker. People hate the art style in that. Absolutely hate it. I think it was fantastic. I think that showed off the graphics on the GameCube really well, and I think that's the art direction that they should have gone with, like on the Wii, to make their games look even better. But whatever.
All right. Sorry, now the chatters are answering the other question. Sorry, chatters. We're rolling that over to another day. We have still plenty more show to go. We got to get your calls later in the show at 1-877-GAME-OLR or our username on Skype, Orange Lounge Radio. But first, some news. Loki.
All right. So a little bit of rapid fire stuff here. We've got 1 million copies sold of the Stanley Parable. That's awesome because that's a pretty sweet game, and if you haven't played it yet, you really should. But yes, 1 million copies sold of that. On top of that, if you're kind of a fan of those, building games, not necessarily like a voxel game. I guess it's sort of voxel, but Space Engineers sold 1 million copies as well. So that's awesome. That is for indie developers. That is something that's incredibly hard to do.
Congrats. That's amazing.
Finally, we've got, let's see here. Also, another game from Mojang that you might not hear a lot about, but Scrolls. Scrolls now is going to be exiting, the beta stage and is going to be releasing the game. I believe, November is going to be coming out. The first real version of the game that's not like a beta stage type thing.
Is this now a Microsoft product, though?
No, I don't think it is.
I thought Microsoft bought all the stuff that Mojang had.
Maybe they did. I don't know. It's still under Mojang, so that's going to be coming out. They said also that they're going to be dropping the price of the PC version of the game from $20 to $5, which probably all right. And then they're going to launch it on iOS, and it's going to be free, but you're going to be able to use like an in-app purchase to pay for the full version or something like that. So neat. I don't know. Once again, this for me, it's not as appealing as like say Minecraft, but
I'm curious.
Cool.
I'm curious. Plus, a lot of this, and I talked about the Microsoft connection a minute there. A lot of that is probably still kind of transitioning, and this is probably kind of one of the things where this was already planned before that all took place. But I'm curious. I like that they're going to have like the free version at least on the phones, even though I might prefer to play this on the PC. At least I'd be able to try it and kind of get a sense for, is this my type of game, yes or no?
Yeah.
Before I, commit that $5 whole to it, which is a pretty good deal.
And then this is pretty cool. They're going to be putting out a game called The Doctor and the Dalek, which is a web-based game featuring, of course, Doctor Who, and it teaches kids on how to code. So I think that's pretty sweet. They're going to have, Peter Capaldi playing the Doctor in that, and I think anything that's out there to teach kids on how to do that stuff is fantastic. And the game, of course, if you're in the UK, is going to be free. You can find it at bbc.co.uk/cbbc. And I think that's pretty awesome. And hopefully if you live in the UK, or I'm sure there's going to be a way to get around any sort of region locks.
Oh, there usually is, especially with the Doctor Who fans. They will not be kept away.
I think it's awesome to have any sort of any sort of way to be able to teach your kids about programming. That should be something that's included.
We've come a long way from Rocky's Boots. I'll say that. That was the programming game I remember.
So
awesome.
Although I got to say, being not a guy familiar with Doctor Who or anything, I don't know. It looks pretty cool.
All right. Well, Amiibo, that whole thing, the Nintendo Amiibo figures, which Loki, I mean, you think you might pick them up or no way?
I haven't seen any sort of actual uses for them other than being collectible figures. I mean, they kind of look cool as collectible figures. I just don't really want to pay for them.
Check out the Nintendo Direct. They get into it a little bit with the Super Smash Brothers. But
yeah, I get it. They're AI players that you can level up. I don't give a shit about that. All it is, what they made it for is fucking Pokemon. You level them up by having them, you train them to level up, and then you can play them in the game. It's fucking Pokemon. It's gonna be Pokemon.
If the figures are of a nice quality, then that alone will be worth it. But if they're kind of crap, then never mind.
I just don't see the point yet. Why do I care about fighting an AI player that gets harder, or playing as a character in Mario Kart or something? Just No.
Well, maybe you will enjoy Amiibo a little more in this. It was announced this week that Amiibo will work with Hyrule Warriors. But now, don't go thinking like every single character is going to suddenly show up in Hyrule Warriors. It's not how it works. If you buy the Link figure, Super Smash Bros. For Wii U has the Link figure, of course, coming out. That Link figure can be registered with Hyrule Warriors. There's no other detail about this. However, Nintendo is set to announce more about this soon, probably towards November 21st when Smash Bros. For Wii U comes out. So there will be some sort of functionality for Hyrule Warriors Amiibo there.
Yeah, I guess it would be kind of cool if like you can level up cross games. Like, if I have my Link character or something like that, if I play Hyrule Warriors, he'll go up levels, and if I play Smash Brothers, he'll go up more levels.
Now, I wonder if that might be something, you might actually be on it, the pulse of what that is, that maybe you can somehow level up your Link Amiibo and then take it over to this game. That would be kind of neat to have that synergy within the Nintendo games.
I still think it'd be cooler, though, if you could bring in Mario and put him into Hyrule Warriors.
Well,
that would be see, that's
don't go
kind
crazy
of cool,
now.
but, I don't know.
That's a lot of rendering and resources.
Not a lot of rendering. Come on, they can render Mario.
I don't know.
They can render females in that game. They can render Mario. Okay.
SSJ100 Matt says, so no Duck Hunt Dog in Hyrule Warriors? Alas, probably not, my friend. Probably not. Hey, in Donkey Kong, I'm not talking the character or the amiibo. I'm talking about the 80s arcade game Donkey Kong. About 30 years after this game originally came out, a fan went through Donkey Kong and actually found some unused music and voiceovers within the game. This was discovered while looking through the game's original code. There were some quick music clips and some short snippets of Pauline actually speaking, "Hey," and "help." Because remember, the lady at the top of the board there that you're trying to rescue is not Princess Toadstool. In the original Donkey Kong, her name was actually Pauline. So Pauline can say, "Hey,"
vicious
and
cycle
help.
that Mario got himself into.
Yeah. So there you go. So that's kind of neat. You can check those out. They're over on YouTube and around the various blogs there. And as I mentioned, Bayonetta 2 came out this past week. Nintendo definitely wants to get awareness out there that Bayonetta 2 is available. They've chosen some very interesting partners to do so. Nintendo has joined up with Playboy. That's right, the magazine you get for the articles. Nintendo has joined up with Playboy to promote Bayonetta 2. Playmate Pamela Horton, who is Miss October 2012, actually, for lack of a better term, put on the cosplay, actually put on a little outfit
shortly
here.
after took it off.
And all this can be found on Playboy's official site. And my understanding is that Pamela is a gamer and a Nintendo fangirl herself. So they actually picked somebody. They didn't just pick her because she happens to look like Bayonetta. They picked her because she's a fan. So that's pretty cool.
That legitimizes that.
Not going to do a lot of favors for the whole Bayonetta is over-sexualized argument, but all right. You know what, though? All I'm going to say is that, there is a lot of excess. For better or for worse, excess exists in the video game industry. When I say excess, I mean things like Grand Theft Auto, excessive amounts of violence, almost a parody of itself level of violence, right? Something like Dead or Alive with breasts, an excessive amounts of that, right? Excess.
That's just Tecmo, or not Tecmo, Team Ninja.
If we want video games to be considered art, which I think many gamers, do consider games art, there's always going to be that excess within art, even in, and I think I said this before on an earlier OLR, maybe it was Horde House. In movies, you have people like John Waters that are going to, really push the envelope of film. In art, you have people like Andy Warhol, that push the envelope there too. There's always going to be these excess sorts of games, and I kind of think Bayonetta is one of those games. It's camp to me. I don't take it too seriously. I mean, how fucking could you? It's really, really over the top camp. So I guess if that's how they want to try to sell it, then I hope it works out for them, because I do want to see this game do well. I would like to see a Bayonetta 3 happen someday, but we'll see. We'll see. It depends on how well this one does. All right, let's take a step over to our Fugle question of the week. That's right. When you take Facebook and Google and you throw those words together, you get Fugle. It's time for the Fugle question of the week. And over on our communities, we asked a question. You know, usually when we have interviews on the show, which we've been fortunate to have quite a few lately, we like to ask questions that kind of tie into the interviews we had. So we said, what is an article that you'd want to read about a classic retro game? Do you want some behind-the-scenes gossip about the development of a certain game, or do you want to compare, contrast with a modern game? What kinds of things would you like to read about in a magazine like Retro? So we got some answers here. On Facebook, we have Gene W. who replied saying, I think an article about classic games like Mario 64 and Zelda Ocarina of Time being reviewed as if it was a new game currently after 20 years of gaming evolution would be interesting. You know, the closest thing I've seen to something like this would be like when re-releases happen, like when Ocarina of Time 3D came out on the 3DS. It's very interesting to see how a lot of reviewers have to kind of walk that line of, it's a classic, but...
A lot of them don't really, though. They just kind of... Well, I guess when they remake them, it's a little bit different, but sometimes when they're just being ported over, it's like, well, just read our original review here, and we'll tell you what the differences are between this version and this version.
Usurping Slurpee. I never can say that. Usurping Slurpee. Responds, greetings from Cleveland, Ohio. And Ohio is all in caps, I think in reference perhaps to a show of ours a couple weeks ago where we may have pissed some people off. I've always been a Sega fanboy. When discussing console wars, people focus on Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox, but they omit such important consoles as Sega Saturn and Dreamcast. Both were groundbreaking to their respective generations. What circumstances led to their early demise? Without losers, there can be no winners. Ooh, that's a very interesting little last sentence there. Kind of examining the phoenix of games, so to speak, how we rise up from the ashes, I guess, with these consoles that may have failed. That's a very interesting perspective.
They can still make a comeback. I'm confident that Sega could make a comeback if they wanted to.
Well, you know what's funny is I was playing Bayonetta 2, and I don't remember if it was Alan or Shane, but somebody walked into the room and was like, are you playing a Sega Dreamcast game? Because this looks like a freaking Dreamcast game. And the more I thought about it, I was kind of like, Bayonetta kind of is totally is a game that would have been on Dreamcast. I mean, but
yes,
it makes sense. It's, Sega's involved. Anyway, Rageinator says, I'd like to read a retrospective of early to mid-90s console gaming, the 16-bit console wars, the advent of certain genres like fighting and FMV games, the seemingly explosion of consoles, i.e. Super Nintendo, Genesis, 3DO, CDI, Neo Geo, etc. That's like a whole year's worth of magazines right there, Rageinator. That's a big topic. But yes, lots of good stuff. Let's go over to Google Plus because we do have a few answers over there on our Google Plus page, which of course is google.com/plus Orange Lounge Radio. And some of our responses there. We have 3 comments there. Act Def says, maybe about game ROMs and emulation. I know it's taboo for many, but let me explain. I would actually like to read about people working on fan translations and making a game that probably didn't see the light of day in America, understandable for us, or even interviews of localizing teams back in the day. Sometimes this happens, though, after the fact, legitimately. I keep thinking of that one Genesis game that was like, years after the fact, they translated from like a Taiwan game. They actually translated into English, and that was released. So sometimes it's not necessarily questionable legality. Sometimes this is happens way after the fact, completely legitimately and with all licenses intact. But yes, I agree, though. The fan translations are really something. And to this day, when they translated Second Densetsu 3 into English, that was huge. And that still to this day remains a game that, for whatever reason, Square Enix has not wanted to give out officially in English. Yet there's such a demand for it out there. There's that ROM, or, the ROM, and we all know it's there. We all know it's out there. Anyway, Tom W. says, I'd really like an in-depth article on how to build a rockin' MAME or multi-system cabinet, complete with diagrams, software configs, and tool list. Well, now again, you get into that little bit of a legal gray area, because how legal is MAME? But there's all these public domain ROMs, so I think as long as we stuck to a conversation, and maybe that could be about, here's how to build a perfectly legal MAME machine.
There's a lot of articles out there on the internet. I mean, there's whole, forums and stuff that are dedicated to that kind of thing.
Yes, but I mean, could be very convenient to have a magazine page with a shopping list to take with me. I guess people.
Well,
have their
it
phones
depends
and stuff,
what you want. I mean, that's like there's so many things you can find a cabinet, you can build a cabinet. What cabinet type do you want to design, build, or whatever? I'll tell you, having
You're
built,
speaking from experience.
yes, I'm telling you, having built a couple and bought a cabinet that I converted into a MAME cabinet, definitely some choices I would make differently nowadays.
All right, and lastly, Reddortainment says, I'd like an in-depth piece where they interview several people who developed games during the Atari era, particularly those people who developed games where they were the only person working on it. I think it would be interesting to compare and contrast the stress developers of the Atari era went through compared to the stress that modern-day developers went through. Well, I think we heard a little bit of that in our interview earlier tonight, so it sounds like, Retro's bringing some of that. But I think we want to hear more. We want more of these guys that had to work by themselves and the teams of one in the past, creating some of the all-time classics.
And if you want that now, I recommend checking out, was it the GDC Vault? They've got usually a lot of these kind of post-mortems for different games. Like, I remember there was one time when I was, well, I think it was actually when I didn't have anything to do at my company after they took away our system, but I was watching some of these postmortems because they have like stuff from like Maniac Mansion and just about like all these developers on these games and like all the process that they went through to develop the engines for these games or like design choices that they made and stuff like that. And it's really fun to just watch and listen to. GDC Vault is one place I'd check, or just do a search, I think, for like, postmortems and for your favorite game and see if you can find that.
Dungeon Buster wants to point out there's a great interview with Carol Shaw, who worked at Activision, floating around out there. She did River Raid and a few other games. So, All right. Well, I mentioned that our friends at Retro Magazine wanted to give away a print subscription to one lucky listener. So what I'd like you guys to do, if you are interested in this and you're listening either live or on the podcast, I'd like you to email participate@orangeloungeradio.com, and I want you to tell me what game would you like to see on the cover of a future magazine. Now, keep in mind, we have nothing to do with the development of the magazine. We've got no pull, but I will let our friends know if if I notice any trends. I will let our friends know. We will pick one emailer at random to win this prize. So if you are interested in this, again, send a message to participate@orangeloungeradio.com. Make sure somewhere in the subject it says retro, and in the body tell us what would you like to see on the cover of a future magazine? Again, we have no say or any pull of any sort, and that stuff might already be planned out for the next 2 years for all we know, but we'll certainly pass it along if we see any trends or anything like that to our friends over at Retro Magazine. So once again, a print subscription to one lucky listener for Retro Magazine available at readretro.com. Email participate@orangeloungeradio.com with what game would you like to see on the cover of a future magazine? We will pick one lucky listener from all the submissions on next week's show. Alrighty, let's get back into some other news. Loki.
All right. So I don't really know how to take this news, but apparently the former CEO of EA, John Rictello, or I think that's how you pronounce his name, is now the CEO of Unity, as in the Unity 3D, the game engine I like to use. You may remember him from such wonderful failures as SimCity's Online Issues or Star Wars The Old Republic or a lot of the other stuff that he dealt with in his tenure. I want to say he was obviously around during the Online Pass thing and all that fun stuff. Not exactly too highly thought of by a lot of the gaming community, but he's basically, saying, hey, things are going to be different now. And he actually went to the Unity forums and was kind of answering questions and stuff there regarding, some of the stuff. And, he said, something, for example, the company he's working for now is a very different company in a very different place. He says, so they're not really comparable. The thing that might have been right or wrong with EA when the company was a turnaround situation are entirely different than what's right for Unity. The companies are very, very different. And basically saying, my philosophy is not to get bigger or more profitable for the sake of these things. Basically just trying to, he wants to recognize that developing a great game is hard, and even if you pull it off, or having your game discovered and installed is also hard, and earning a good living on this is very hard. And I don't know. I think he's just trying to skirt around like some of the past mistakes and trying to start fresh. So don't fuck this up like you fucked up some of the stuff or had a hand in fucking up at previous companies.
And that's good advice. To quote a favorite mentor of mine, good luck and don't fuck it up. Any concern because you're using Unity to develop your game? Any concerns here? Or
not yet.
business
I
as
mean,
usual?
I just hope that maybe they don't change the pricing models. Although the pricing model could be a little bit better, I think. I mean, but 15, I guess 15 for me being poor, $1,500 is a lot, but it's $1,500 and that's it. And you don't have to pay for royalties except for like say you want to buy the next version of Unity that comes out, the next numbered version, not, like for example, Unity 5. Like if I pay $1,500 for that, I get 4 for right now because it's so close to 5 coming out, and then I get 5, but later on when 6 comes out, I got to pay more money to upgrade to the fancier shit. I guess it makes sense, but it's not that much money, but whatever. It could always be cheaper.
Everything could always be cheaper. All right. Moving on to some stories on Mortal Kombat X. Don't call it Mortal Kombat 10. It is actually Mortal Kombat X, even though it is the 10th game. This is a game to look forward to early next year. I think we were talking, I don't remember if it was on or off air. We're talking about the Wii U and what is there to look forward to in the first few months of next year. Now, of course, Mortal Kombat X would not be one of those games, but for the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, this is definitely one that has a lot of people looking forward to it.
I thought they had it dated already. Yeah, I don't remember what it's...
It was April something, I think.
Yeah.
Which is tends to be the time frame for those spring releases. So anyway, to coincide with the 2015 launch of Mortal Kombat X, there's going to be a new live action series. You might remember they've done some live action Mortal Kombat stuff before, but this is going to be something new. This will be a joint production from Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment and Blue Ribbon Content, which is a digital series production house within Warner Brothers. This will showcase some of the franchise's most storied characters while introducing a new generation of fighters. Because as we know, the last Mortal Kombat game was for the most part familiar faces. In fact, I think it was really all familiar faces, save maybe like Freddy Krueger. But this game, we know there's some new people in it, and so people looking forward to that. So this will be some of the characters I'm really curious to see how they're going to pull off in a live action. Like, isn't one of them like a flying insect lady or something? Like, that's going to be interesting to see how they pull that off.
I think they're just going to be pulling it off like they did some of the flying characters in, was it Injustice?
Yeah.
Not even Injustice, but like, even going back to Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe, back when they had some of that stuff. But I think Injustice is a little bit more what they're playing off of for some of these characters. So
for the live action, though, I'm curious how they're going to pull off some of that. That's going to be expensive.
CG.
Yeah,
it's not going to be that expensive.
This is
true.
true.
CG, come on.
Keep forgetting how much strides we've made in that. So, there you go. That's going to be pretty cool.
They're just going to have this person jump up every time the camera's on them, and they're just going to have to somehow shoot those scenes very fast.
No word on when this is exactly coming, although I would imagine it would be around the game. It should be noted this has nothing to do with Mortal Kombat Legacy from 2011. It's nothing to do with that, just to make that clear. Also, by the way, speaking of comics, since you brought up DC, DC Comics is going to be making a Mortal Kombat X comic. This will, quote, serve as a prequel to the game and will feature many favorite characters in the next generation of combatants. It will be written by Sean Kittleson and illustrations by Dexter Soy and cover art from Ivan Reese. January of 2015 when this will be released. So there you go. I'm looking forward to the game and all this hype around it will hopefully get a lot of people online to play against.
Yeah. All right. And then let's see. So this is kind of cool. We I think talked a little bit about how they're going to be doing a Dead Rising movie, and now it wasn't necessarily going to be something that was, in theaters or something like that, but it is going to be something that they're going to be debuting, I guess, on Crackle. But the title of the movie was Dead Rising Watchtower, and it actually has Rob Riggle is going to be playing Frank West in the game. And Rob Riggle, he's done a bunch of different comedic roles, but he's also I think
he's on the Daily Show.
Yeah, he's
right?
known for the Daily Show. Yeah. So I could see him as Frank West. Actually, I think that could work. So I'm curious to see how this movie is actually going to turn out, especially since it's on Crackle. I guess it's free, so sweet.
Hey,
I like free. They haven't given a date yet when that's going to be coming out, but hopefully sooner than later.
All right. Well, let's talk about some arcade games for 2015. And one game that's going to be making its way to arcades. Yes, thank heavens, more arcade games in 2015, because I start to worry every day that arcades are dying out, because every time I walk into one, it's just a bunch of ticket spitters. But Time Crisis 5 will be happening in 2015. Will be released internationally in March or April of 2015, that time frame. Very cool there that is happening. This will, I believe, has the whole like foot pedal action thing going on with the gun. I'm curious if this will lead into a port. Are we going to have a next generation laser gun or something, or will you be able to plug in a USB mouse or what? I mean, because these Time Crisis games pretty much all came out on PlayStation, right? Isn't even Time Crisis 4? Time Crisis 4 was out on...
If only PlayStation had some sort of way to do light guns. If only they had a device called the Move that they had a gun peripheral for.
The camera, of course.
Yes.
Of course.
And they had a previous Time Crisis game on. They used it just like that in a House of the Dead game, and that's how they would do it.
Or maybe this will just stay in the arcades. Who knows? But,
most likely because it's going to rely on connecting the camera, and who's really... hey, I'm all for more games that use the Kinect and the camera, since, otherwise those peripherals are kind of useless, aside from,
Now, Dark Tetsuya is pointing out there's actually two pedals on Time Crisis 5. There's an L and an R. You can see in some of these pictures here that somebody took of the game. And it looks like some pretty fun in-game shots. Like I see somebody on like a little zip line there, and it's pretty cool. Also, for the arcade, it should be noted there, there is a new Bandai Namco game that's location testing called Synchronica. This is actually a music-based game. It's a touchscreen rhythm arcade game, and it looks a little familiar for Beat Stream by Konami and Re-Rave Plus, if you know that game. So, that is something that Bandai Namco is testing right now, Synchronica. And interesting enough, the Taiko no Tatsujin mascots are appearing on the game's art as well, which, that was a big music game that Bandai Namco did, which does pretty well overseas. I don't think you see a lot of it here. I know they had a couple home releases here, but you definitely don't, it's not in the arcades here, really, unless it's imported.
It'd be cool is if they, now, this would be kind of hard to do, I guess, but it'd be kind of cool if they had, one of those games, but it utilized, the second screen stuff of, a tablet to actually play those games, on a console or something. Because you know how they have all these second screen apps and stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe do, a download version of the game or something that where you're required to have that in order to play it.
Now, I do want to point out this is location testing in Japan. Doubtful, because Taiko no Tatsujin never really made its way over here besides a couple home versions. I don't know if this ever will either outside the imports, but you never know. You never know. Sometimes if something does very well in Japan, it'll make its way over here. All right, let's go to the mailbag. Every week you guys email us at participate@orangeloungeradio.com, and we open up the mailbag and read some of the emails on the program. Except, since I'm having to multitask all night tonight, I actually don't have the mailbag up right now. So let me bring it up. I know we had at least one email when I looked earlier, so we should have something to read. You would think with 2 weeks off we would have had a lot. But nope, just one email tonight, because the other one says retro on it, so people already entering the contest. So here it is, our email for tonight from Gene, who says, "Hello, OLR. Tuesday, I finally broke down and bought a PlayStation TV. Oh, we haven't talked a lot about this yet.
I seriously thought about picking one of those up when I bought
really?
my PlayStation 4 because I was I saw the box up on the shelf.
You're thinking about it, huh?
Maybe.
Well, let's see what Gene has to say about the PlayStation TV. There has been much talk that this unit is going for the Apple TV market. After almost a week, I can confirm my initial impression is that it is going for the niche market of people that want to play their PS4 remotely, play PSP and Vita games on the big screen. The menus on the big screen are the biggest deterrent, making it an alternative to the Apple TV. Sony had put so little into the system to make it for that audience that I was a bit confused as to how to close programs. Still, a week later, I feel the operating system doesn't translate well on the TV. It works great for what I bought it for, Disida on a big television with great controller that doesn't cramp my hands. Since I bought the bundle and will not play it, feel free to give out my code for the Lego Movie video game for the Vita, and it comes with a code. As always, thanks to the podcast, Gene. So there it is. The interface sucks, but if you want to play Dissident on your television, there you go. That sounds about right. I don't know. I'm tempted. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to just buy a PlayStation TV for it, but there is something to be said about the Vita Luminous game, which is one of the best, being able to play that on the TV. Even the PSP games like Final Fantasy IV. I think the PSP version of Final Fantasy IV is the best one. I prefer it to the 3D remake. I know not everybody agrees with me, but it's the original and the after years. And yeah, I don't know. I'm tempted. I'm tempted.
I'm sure if you just wait a little bit, like wait until Black Friday, wait until they drop in price, because I bet you a lot of people are going to be, maybe people will be dropping those. I don't know. I hope it does well.
All right. So, well, gosh, I kind of want to keep this code for myself, but I see Act Deft in chat going, I want it. I want that Lego Movie game code. So you know what? All right, cool. You want it, you got it. There you go. Thanks for listening. I'm going to pass that code on to Act Deft just because he's clamoring about wanting that in our chat room. So there you go. You got it. Thanks, Gene,
I hear the movie
for the code.
game's not that bad. I mean, just saying. I like the movie.
Don't make me regret that. I should have kept it for myself.
Have you watched the movie? Have you seen the Lego movie?
I haven't yet.
What the hell is your problem? Go watch the Lego movie.
Is it on Blu-ray?
It is on Blu-ray already.
And I just need to... I still have not bought a fucking table for that little arcade machine. I've been that busy. But that's
okay.
Things are clearing up in a couple weeks, so I'll be able to watch movies and things like that again. So, all right. Let's move on and get to the FUs of the week. We usually use this part of the show to get a little bit angsty. So here we go.
Oh, this is bad. Here is justice. Here is punishment. This is fucked up.
All right. I guess as Jamie's not here, I'll make an FU for my cat. My cat is an asshole, and I sometimes I kind of like give her the benefit of the doubt where I just think that she's an asshole, but maybe she's actually pretty nice. But no, she actually goes out of her way to be an asshole. Let me give you an example here. I was getting my son his, we have a full-size whiteboard that I normally let him play on and draw on and stuff like that. So while I was getting it out, I had to move this box that had our fake Christmas tree in it. And lo and behold, the cat had decided to jump up on the box and vomit into the box onto the Christmas tree.
Nasty!
She literally ruined the Christmas tree. Ruined Christmas for everybody. So now I have to go buy a new fucking tree because the cat decided to jump up on the box when she knew she had to throw up into said box. Thank you.
All right, I want to give an FU to the fact that our fucking live stream just went down again. I'm really giving consideration going somewhere else. This is happening way too much. So yeah, our live stream is currently down, and I'm trying to furiously reconnect so we can get our live listeners back because, having a good feed is really the lifeblood of the show. Alan, are you here to... Are you doing FUs? Yeah, we're doing FUs. Oh, Alan wants to give a guest FU of the week. Who's here? Alan's here home early for a change for the show and wants to give an FU of the week while I try to fix our live stream.
FU to the huge giant Safeway near my work that's huge like an airport hangar, yet in spite of it being a fancy Safeway, I was trying to get Rob more Stacy's salted caramel pita chips.
Oh, they're so good.
Yeah, they don't have the Stacy's brand of pita chips at all. Couldn't find them. I mean, I was in a rush, but I went up and down that chip aisle like 4 times, and then I went over to where they have like the kale chips and the frou-frou stuff. None, no Stacy's. Then I looked for the popcorn that you like, the microwave popcorn, the garlic. Didn't have that either. So, fuck them.
FU to the fact that I like all this food that makes me fat, but seriously, those pita chips, the salted caramel ones, are so good. I can't. I can't.
They had the cappuccino Lays that I almost got as a replacement, but the thing is that's why the cappuccino Lays lost that contest, because if you want sweet chips, you get the Stacy's salted caramel or the Stacy's sugar cinnamon. There are better chips like that. I
will agree. Those salted caramel chips are way better than the stupid cappuccino chips out of Lay's. But anyway. All right. Thankfully, we got our live listeners back, so my rage has calmed down a little bit with losing the stream there. Very frustrating. But don't worry, guys. You only missed the FUs of the week, and those will be up in full on our podcast feed. As you can hear, Alan came in the room to help contribute to that segment while I was furiously trying to get our feed back up. All right, just a few more news stories for you guys, then we're going to open up the Skype line at 1-877-GAME-OLR, or our username on Skype, Orange Lounge Radio. Loki.
All right. This is pretty cool. I watched this last time that they had it up, but awesome games done quick. It's coming back if you like watching speed runs. And really, if you haven't watched this yet, you really should check it out. It's coming out starting January 4th next year, and they're going to be doing it for about 6 days. It's going to end on January 10th. All their proceeds from donations are going to Prevent Cancer Foundation. And if you haven't heard of this event, it's basically a bunch of really great speedrunners playing a bunch of different games and kind of talking about, what they do in those games, to go fast. And there's races and all sorts of fun stuff. And seriously, check it out. It's Games Done Quick, I think, is the Twitch channel. And so that'll be coming out on the 4th. And they have the whole lineup.
The trailer for my next story started playing in the background. I didn't realize it was on, and it made a great ambience for what you were talking about. Go ahead. Yeah. Spoiled what I'm going to talk about. But I know there's a lot of fans out there of this marathon, and I know, like Flacco Jones here at OLR and Extra over to Horde House, they love this, and it is a very fun thing to watch. Do you think they would get mad if maybe we did like an offshoot on a different week called like Mediocre Games Done Slow? There's something a little bit more our pace, Imitation is the finest form of flattery, right? It's all for a good cause, right?
I don't think they would care. It's just whatever. I think it looks awesome. I can't wait to watch it again because just last year was fantastic. And they even do it, I think, twice a year. They do Summer Games Done Quick also. So check it out.
All right. Maybe in 2015, Mediocre Games Done Slow from Loki and Rob and Darsagra. and pals.
Mediocre games done as fast as we can, but our limited skills limit our speed through said game and possibly won't finish at the end.
Mediocre games done until we need a nap.
Maybe like I was trying to play through was it I Want to Be the Guy? It's like we can give this an hour until we throw the controller down on the ground because we don't want to play this.
All right, Tiger Claw in chat says, I think they did an awful games done quick before. Actually, that does sound familiar, so yeah, I don't want to steal anyone's idea. It's for charity. It's all great stuff. All right. Well, I think I spoiled what I'm going to talk about. This is a game I'm not fucking playing during a marathon. Let's just make that real clear. And that is the game Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Loki, you familiar with the Five Nights at Freddy's game?
I'm afraid I'm not familiar with that game.
You don't? Okay, here's the thing. I haven't played it because I kind of refuse to, and I've actually had several people request me to stream it, and I've watched other people play it on YouTube, and I'm like, no thanks. So here's what it is. It's a survival horror game where you're working as the security guy at a Chuck E. Cheese type of place where the animatronics are basically trying to kill you. And so
that's awesome. That sounds so cool.
I can't believe you haven't heard of this game.
I haven't heard of this, but that's really cool.
All right, let me play this trailer full screen so Loki can see it here. So they do have the sequel available on Greenlight, and you're trapped in a room and you just have the security cameras. Like, you don't actually walk around or whatever. It's all through security cameras, and you watch the different cameras and try to make sure that the little monsters aren't trying to get close to you, because if they get too close, there'll be a hella jump scare where they burst through the door and basically kill you. And it's like they make these little sounds when they do it, like blah! And they make these really hideous noises. So I'm letting Loki see the trailer here in studio, because Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is on Steam Greenlight, and it looks like, as the taping of the show, they've actually posted an update that says they made it. See how you can see the game area, and you switch between all these different cams, and some of the cameras are broken and they're audio only, and so you look at the different areas, and you have to basically survive all night, which runs like 6 or 7 minutes. And then at some point, come on, if we get to that part of the trailer, don't those monsters look freaky? And at some point in the trailer here, they come
I don't
and
know,
get
that
you.
looks kind of stupid, but it kind of looks a little janky there. It's like almost looks like an old Saturn game, like a Night Trap type thing. So how are you supposed to prevent the monsters from getting you?
Because when they're on the camera, they don't move.
Click, 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 click.
Somehow I don't think that works. I don't think you can rapidly click everything. Let's see. Rama in chat says, I know people that are doing Five Nights at Freddy cosplays. That is fucked up. That's just mean. That's like furries gone wrong. Really, really wrong. ActDef says, but after a while, you don't feel scared of the animatronics, but rather just not fucking it up. Yeah, I can see that. How the animatronics themselves probably lose the scare a little bit, but later on, it's a tense game. And I've played games that weren't necessarily scary; they were just tense. Like if I screw this up, I'm gonna have to do it all over again. Even Peggle 2 got tense for me. It's like I have to get 3 of these in a row, and it's like, okay, 1, 2. Am I gonna get the third shot? Am I gonna get the
Why are you still working at like this place that's abandoned as a security guard? And there's like, as soon as you see any of those animatronic things trying to kill you, be like, oh, fuck it, I'm out, gone.
It's video game logic, Loki. It doesn't always make sense. Dungeon Buster says Alien Isolation is kind of like that, but it took almost 15 or so hours for it to get there for me. That's another game that people have suggested I buy and stream live, and I'm like, nope. Because, it's a pricier game. At least Five Nights at Freddy's is only, $5-10? But Alien Isolation is still pretty expensive, and it's like, I don't know. I don't think I could make it through that. All right. Let's do it. Let's open up the Skype line and take your calls. 1-877-GAME-OLR or our username on Skype, Orange Lounge Radio, all one word. Again, that's 1-877-GAME-OLR or our username on Skype, Orange Lounge Radio, if you want to give us a call and be on the program tonight. And phone lines already lighting up to take some calls. Let's do it. Hi, you're on Orange Lounge Radio. Who's this?
Hey, this is Tap.
Hey, my friend. How you doing?
Hey, pretty good. Well, you talked about Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yes.
So, and yeah, I said it in chat, and you pretty much repeated it, or said it. The game starts really scary. It's a scary atmosphere. At the first, in your first playthrough, maybe you're gonna get scared because that's that feeling. But after a while, it doesn't get that scary.
Does it support the Oculus Rift?
No,
no, it doesn't actually.
No.
But it should. It's a game that pretty much could take advantage of that.
I don't
really
know.
Well.
I don't know though if the whole fact that you're watching on cameras. I mean, not everything should necessarily be crammed into the Rift, and the fact that this is about watching security cameras, that might not work so well on the Rift actually. So. I know people want to, they want people to actually die having a heart attack from playing a video game at some point by putting all these scary games on the Rift, but isn't Slender Man enough? Christ. I don't remember who talked me into doing that stream, if it was Shane or Gemmet or what, that I did that live stream of Slender Man, and I
Slender the
screamed
Arrival
so
is
loud.
coming to PlayStation 4 and Xbox One very soon.
Oh, is it really?
And also the Wii U, yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, and speaking and turning to Five Nights at Freddy, and speaking of the Wii U, it did actually good work on the Wii U, especially since you use a tablet to watch the other cameras. Yeah, it actually worked.
It's basically a horror version of that stupid prototype that Miyamoto's working on. Like, look at my genius idea. No, it's kind of dumb. Watching Rob the Robot try to infiltrate your shit.
Five Nights at Freddy 2. It's gonna be pretty much maybe not the same thing, but it's gonna do a lot of stuff that the first one didn't, and it's gonna be way more creepier and probably way more harder. I got to the Fortnite and I had to stop playing because it was getting on my nerves really bad. Not in the scary sense, but like I said, it's mostly not to fuck it up, because you have to check all the cameras. You have to be very careful of what you do and not waste energy and all that. It really gets on your nerves on that way. It's not the animatronics getting you. It's like I said, and again I'm repeating myself. It's mostly not fucking up.
The game was cheating, right? I do that all the time. I get really frustrated because the game's cheating.
Yeah, kind of, and some of no, and even some of the animatronics do actually cheat, and that they give you a one kill, but they don't give you a chance even to do something. Like there's well, not animatronic, but most a thing called Golden Freddy.
Mm-hmm.
That if you catch it on your monitors on the security cameras, and it appears immediately on your station, it will it will pretty much crash your game. It's a one-hit kill, so yeah, and you cannot do anything about it.
Oh my gosh, that does sound pretty cheap. That would suck. Well, I guess it is that time of year where everybody's thinking about scary games. I'm sure there'll be plenty of people live streaming and playing scary games with friends on Friday night. So good luck to everybody, and I hope these games don't scare you too bad.
And speaking of the furry community in Five Nights at Freddy, whoa, you haven't seen anything of it. Like, anything. Like,
you know what?
oh my God.
That is something.
Haven't seen, don't want to see. Yeah, it's same difference.
I will keep that nicely stored away in Pandora's box. Thank you very much. All right, Act F, anything else on your mind, my friend?
That's all.
All right, take care.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me.
Bye. All right. One of these days, I'm going to just end up downloading that game and live streaming it inevitably. We'll see. We'll see, though. Hi, you're on Orange Lounge Radio. Who's this?
Hey, guys. It's Jason.
Hey, Jason, and I can see you. I'm waving at you. You just can't see it. I know. Your beard's getting fluffier.
It hasn't even been winter yet. It's not even cold in Colorado yet, at least not regularly. But
are you planning on cosplaying Santa Claus? Because you're about there.
at this rate, given 2 more months, well, I don't have a Halloween costume yet, so why not use it for 2 occasions this year?
There you go.
This is great radio, by the way.
This is fantastic radio. Just Jason has a big, fluffy Santa Claus beard right now. Well, it's not gray, though. It's black. But still. All right, what's on your mind, my friend?
They make hair dye. Like, things can happen.
Exactly.
Can I toot my own horn for a minute?
Toot, I suppose.
Wait. So back in, I think it was late last year, but it may have even been 2012. At least a year ago and possibly more, I made this comment about how game worlds in the general sense can finally come to consoles now that in the current generation, everything not only has the capability, but is largely expected to always be on, possible to connect to the internet, phoning home to services, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And yeah, consoles have gotten MMOs. Final Fantasy has been on all of them. Has been on consoles even as far back as the PS2. So that's like the MMO itself isn't exactly a surprise. But it's really interesting to me because Destiny, like a lot of people have said a lot of negative things about Destiny, and provided Bungie keeps up, which I really expect them to, I expect that sentiment to change in the end by the time that like Destiny as it stands is considered done, whether that's a sequel or just run its course or what have you. I just expect the game to be something completely different, and the opinions of them, if not better, then to be different along with the change of content. What brought this up, what like really gobsmacked me with that this week, is that Titanfall released patch 8. And it was just a patch. Like they've had 3 pieces of DLC already, all just map packs and not actually doing anything else with the game. But a patch update, free to all players, that came out this week, added an entirely new mode to the game. Nothing crazy, nothing revolutionary. It was just survival. Oh, what did Halo Reach call it? Was it actually Reach mode? Whatever, like Halo Reach or ODST, whichever one came between 3 and 4 that was actually first-person shooter. You get waves. Tower defense FPS is basically the quickest way that I can explain that. But it's just super interesting that now that we have the capability to do this and keep up, and capacity, mandatory storage, and all of that kind of thing, that games are now shifting so that certain experiences you probably only would have gotten on the computer before now are finally on the console, and whatever doors open are interesting, but it's just interesting to finally see that with very specific AAA examples here and now.
Right. Well, yeah, and it's pretty impressive how a lot of these big games are being very well supported. Like, Destiny's being, for all its criticisms, they have been working pretty regularly and quickly on these patches to improve, the quality of life for the game. I really feel like I kind of hit a point in Destiny where I kind of ran out of things to do. And I realized I haven't done the raid. I could still do, push my character forward and so forth. But I don't know. I wasn't really super motivated. I kind of felt like I hit the end of the story. I did all the single player stuff. And I wasn't really motivated to push my character further by going on a gear hunt and relying on RNG. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I feel like Destiny and Bungie did address some of those concerns. The whole criticisms that the Cryptarch would give you crap items even when you brought in purple engrams and stuff. They at least kind of listened to some of that. So it does make me hopeful for the future of the game. And, like I said then and like I say now and like I'll say forever, if Blizzard could fix Diablo 3, and boy did they ever, anything is possible as far as like changing a game around with free patches.
Right.
So.
It's just interesting because Destiny, every couple of days, I actually haven't played it in about a week or something like that, and I'm going to turn it on and get all the content updates. I haven't even been keeping up with the news, just bits of things that I hear that I hear about around Twitter and whatnot. It's for somebody who has all but checked out of PC gaming, at least as far as new titles are concerned. It's super interesting to be like back in this familiar environment from my past, but be doing it on a newer console.
Yeah, and like you kind of brought up earlier, MMOs. I think a lot of this is kind of borrowed from MMOs, and I talk ad nauseum about Final Fantasy XIV, but tomorrow they're getting another huge patch, which is quote unquote for free, and I put that in my quotey fingers because you are paying a monthly sub to play Final Fantasy XIV, so you should get some reasonable upkeep and so forth, and some of these kind of free perks. But it's nice to see the games supported like that, and the fact that these games that you aren't paying monthly fees for, giving us this stuff that's not necessarily tied to DLC.
Right. Amazon Prime's free 2-day shipping, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all know here's your free games that you get for the low price of money directly debited every month.
Yes, or release day shipping for something. That's how I got Bayonetta 2.
Yeah.
On Friday. So.
Yeah. Ultimately, I suppose it's not really outlandish. It's just like not to mention like being back in gaming regularly and all that kind of stuff. Since I've been home for a month and a half straight now, been able to actually like sit down and see the stuff happening to myself firsthand.
It's also the positive side of the patching world we live in, and I know we focused a lot. I mean, gamers focusing on the negative, get out. I know we've oftentimes focused on the negative of, with these stupid patches, these companies can release these half-finished games, and we just have to get this day one patch and blah, blah, blah. But this is kind of the positive end of it, is like, patching can also make an old game new again when there's a lot of games competing for your attention.
Yeah. Speaking of games competing for my attention, I have that 3D Realms anthology to get to. So
you bought it, huh?
Oh yes,
what
absolutely. Those games are my childhood. Period. Like those games were the ones that were on AOL Games, AOL Kids Games download section. Some of these things I even downloaded off BBS's Z Modem for life. This is my childhood, and I owned almost none of them until the last couple of years, and now they're all here. I have like literally full versions of my entire childhood, and
awesome.
It's going to be a good rest of the year.
What game are you most looking forward to in that collection?
My eyes immediately crossed Raptor and Monster Bash.
I don't even know those.
Raptor was a vertical shoot 'em up. 1942, very standard affair. I don't remember what interested me in it. Good soundtrack, good visuals, I guess. I don't know. I'm gonna find out though. Monster Bash was a side-scrolling platformer. You played Johnny Dash, I think, and you had to rescue cats and dogs in this monster world of zombies and crows and skeletons and a bunch of other really it's super cartoony, very like overdone sound effects and vivid colors, but again, that's a game that I only ever played the demo, and I played the demo to death multiple times. That whole collection is freaking amazing.
I bet you can't wait to play such classics like Math Rescue as well.
and the same thing, like with 3D Realms, what 3DRealms.com used to be. Like I used to even as an adult, even in the last couple of years, I would go to 3drealms.com, look at their games list, and just see the same shareware version, patch updates, retail updates, the Duke Nukem, various Duke Nukem patches for like getting restoring mature filtered, restoring violence in like clean versions that were rebuilt for like Walmart whenever they used to actually sell stuff like that kind of thing. And like 3D Realms and Apogee have always held a place in my heart, and it's here. It's fantastic.
Fantastic. We'll have a lot of fun with that, Jason.
I shall.
All right. You take care, buddy.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye. Always good to hear from the man, Jason, there on the call.
Wacky Wheels. I remember Wacky Wheels.
Yeah.
It's like a Mario Kart type game.
I got to be honest, a lot of those I don't. Oh, my God. I do remember Wacky Wheels.
Yeah.
Oh, God. That game was the bomb. All right, 1-877-GAME-OLR or a username on Skype, Orange Lounge Radio, if you want to give us a call. Let's see. I do have some tweets I want to get to. We've accumulated quite a few tweets. I'm going to apologize if I missed your tweet. If you tweeted us like earlier in the week, especially when we were out, I'm probably going to miss your tweet because we get mentioned sometimes in other conversations and things get lost. But let's see. Tweet here from Spazinator who says, if you could buy any one non-MAME cabinet, what would it be? For me, it would be a 4-slot Neo Geo MVS. I came super close to legit buying a Burger Time cabinet not that long ago. I saw one at the auction. And if I was in the financial place I was in now, then I would have bought it. But unfortunately, I was going through a phase where I wasn't as fortunate, so I didn't buy it.
Only you had a cabinet sitting within a couple feet of you that you could play Burger Time.
But you have to admit, Loki, there is a difference. I mean, yes, it's awesome that but to have like the real thing is also very attractive.
Yeah, I understand.
So that was one I came very close to buying. You know, my friends would have ate that shit up. What about Loki? What about you? Something you could buy?
It's easy.
What?
I'd get a Dance Dance Revolution cabinet.
Of course.
Easy. I mean,
of course.
Come on. I mean, that's super easy. Or if
I'm an idiot for not saying that.
I am, pretty out of shape. Hopefully that would help. But if I was going to go the lazy route, I would probably pick like a racing cabinet or something. Maybe like a, F-Zero AX or.
Be awesome.
I don't know.
You know what pisses me off is I went back to that place to see if I could get it, and it was gone. You know, well, I can say this, I guess, on air. It doesn't matter. You know, Denio's out in Roseville, right?
Yeah.
There used to be that place across the street, the Auction Town or whatever it was called.
Oh, I never went
Gone. And they had that. Oh, man. I'm so angry about that.
Seriously, just look on Craigslist. There's so many people selling like
and
crap.
actually, and a baby Pac-Man is something I've always considered for a long time, too. And Dark Soccer knows about that one because that's that half pinball, half game one. That one's a lot of fun.
They have some. Well, yeah.
Alan, you'd understand if I bought a baby Pac-Man machine, right? If you came home from work one day and there's a baby Pac-Man machine in the living room, would you understand that? Oh, he's coming over.
I would, and it is such a rare novelty to see a half and half game like that. But at the same time, is either version of the screen game or the pinball, they're both not that great. It's just the fact that they're integrated together that makes it like cool. But the pinball's kind of jank if I remember.
Crushing my dreams live on air. Did you hear that? Well, you can bring one home if you want, but it kind of sucks.
You could bring it home if your taste is crap.
Fine. What do you want me to bring home, Alan? What arcade machine or thing would you want to see? He says Killer Instinct 1 or 2. Can I just get a Nintendo 64 and Killer Instinct Gold? Wouldn't that be enough? Alan just said, I'm offended, and walked out. All right. I need to get a room ambient mic so you guys can hear him. Anyway, SJ100 Matt tweeted us and said, I went to a friend's wedding this weekend, and the bride and groom walked the aisle to Lindsey Sterling's rendition of the Halo theme. So I ask, what gaming tune would you like to hear at a wedding? No happy wedding jokes from Beatmania 2DX. I actually went to a wedding that was Halo themed as well. I don't think it was that same thing, but they walked down the aisle to music from Halo. I'm not kidding. That was over 10 years ago at this point. That's what sold me on an Xbox, was getting to play Halo for the first time. Local area, not Halo 2, but Halo 1, LAN style at that wedding reception. That sold me on the Xbox. That and DDR Ultimix. Loki, I know you already had your wedding, but, let's say you got to do it again and the wife would let you do anything you want. What video game?
She's like, okay, I want you to ruin this.
Exactly.
Okay, if I'm gonna pick the song that's gonna ruin it. Let's see. The most inappropriate song I can think of, walking down the aisle to, just because it would really script the tempo and everything, would be like, I don't know, like Dropout, or maybe Max 300 or something stupid.
Drop the bomb.
Drop the bomb. No, I got it. Was it Secret Rendezvous or something? Yeah.
Stop. Let's see. Now, see, here's the problem: is that I already know I'm gonna walk down the aisle to ABBA music, just like in Muriel's Wedding. For anybody that's ever seen that movie, that's what it's going to be, and that's non-negotiable. But I suppose if it had to be video game music, I don't know, like maybe something Final Fantasy-ish. I'm sure there's tons of people that have done like 1,000
One
words.
Winged Angel, yeah.
Okay, you got me. One Winged Angel, that would do it.
I'm sure someone has walked down the aisle to that. I'm sure there's some like nerd couple out there that walked down the aisle to that.
All right, one more plug for phone calls here. Last chance to get in. 1-877-GAME-OLR. Our username on Skype, Orange Lounge Radio. Could somebody like mod the lyrics so it was like Rob Roberts? Could we get it modded somehow? I don't know. All right. Bobby Blackwolf in chat says Rob will walk down the aisle to Leviathan. No, that's Shane. That would be Shane that would want to get married to the Leviathan song from Final Fantasy 14. Just saying. All right, Loki, do you have any last minute stories for us? Because our phones aren't lighting up. I'm about to close them.
Yeah, we can talk a little bit about. They're saying that I guess right now the first idea of what Microsoft's going to do at the Minecraft property is trying to merge the console, PC, and mobile versions together a little bit, like maybe having them interact with each other or something like that. It's incredibly vague. I guess it was coming from some sort of IGN podcast or something like that. I guess the PlayStation 4 has outsold the Xbox One by 40% worldwide as of right now, so that's interesting, I guess. And then, of course, what was it? They were saying that the Xbox One sales are up, but I think the Xbox One's gonna do fine. They've got really good first-party games coming out.
Halo Collection will be good.
Halo Collection. I mean, they've got strong titles coming out. What Sony have? Sony has Drive Club, which is just a fucking mess, unfortunately, and Little Big Planet 3, which Little Big Planet 3 is a good game, but it's not going to fucking sell systems.
Inertia is what I mean, and everything you talked about earlier about all my friends already have one type of thing. I mean, that's my honest answer. I mean, it's a bigger deal than you think because it's like Destiny. Like for a lot of people I know, PlayStation 4 is the console to have Destiny on. Why? Because that's where everybody else has it, and I want to play with my friends. Like we had our buddy Delvin from Video Game Realness was on Horde House, and he was talking about Destiny, and I'm like, Delvin, you play Destiny? Why have we never played together? And he's like, because I'm on Xbox One. And nobody's over here on Xbox One that I know. So it's kind of unfortunate.
Yeah.
All right. Any other last-minute stories here for us to get to?
That's it.
That's about it. Well, the phones are not lighting up, so I think that's going to do it for another episode of Orange Lounge Radio. I want to thank you guys for listening to the show tonight and taking time out of your day or night, whatever the case may be, as you're listening to the show, to listen to the show. I want to thank, once again, the folks at Retro Magazine for coming on tonight, and best of luck on that Kickstarter. Usually I would say I hope you get the Kickstarter, but they already made the goal, so I hope they attain enough stretch goals so that they can do something even bigger than they did in year one. That's the wishes that I send over to Retro Magazine. Best of luck to them. And you can, again, find them at readretro.com and their Kickstarter, readretro.com/Kickstarter. Again, thank you guys for listening to us. I know we were gone last week, so I appreciate you sticking with us and coming right back to the show tonight. If you like what you heard here at Orange Lounge Radio, please don't forget to tell a friend or 2 or 5 or 20 about the show. Help spread the word about Orange Lounge Radio. And if you don't like this show, then you know what? Screw you. No, I'm kidding. Go support a show. Go support another indie show, because there probably is somebody out there making a show that's right up your alley, and it's a hardworking indie producer just like us. So please support independent broadcasting. Let's go around and get everybody's final thought. Dark Sakura is not here tonight. She'll be back on the show next week. She's been moving, so I'm sure her final thought would probably be along the lines of, I'm really tired and I want a taco. I'm going to guess that would be Dark Sakura's final thought. Loki, your final thought tonight.
I guess I'll just work more on my game this week and hopefully maybe get some actual PlayStation 4 games that I can, hopefully play some PlayStation 4 games. I don't know if I'm really going to, I don't want to buy any more digital games because I already have 3 physical games that I just haven't gotten to play yet, and 2 digital ones coming out in November. Plus, I'm probably going to buy like Far Cry 4 and maybe The Crew. We'll see. So I don't want to do what I do with every single console launch where I'm like, oh, games, and don't play any of them. So it's like, So, yeah.
All right. Well, when that patch comes out, you and I have to play some Diablo online and test that thing out at some point. I'm going to be, with my show on Friday, I'm going to be a little busy this week, but maybe Tuesday or Thursday, somewhere around there, I'll be available if the patch works right away on Tuesday, which I'm not always anticipating it to, but we'll get around to it. Let's see. My final thought tonight is I need to go finish my game of Beyond Earth, because I made the mistake of playing on like a normal size map, and I'm on like turn 200 plus and still nowhere close to being done. So I need to go finish my game of Beyond Earth. So and oh my gosh, Final Fantasy 14 goes down tonight for an entire day, and I still have to get my drop out of Circus Tower. I got games to play, people. I hope you do too. Have a great week. Be nice to each other, people. It's a crazy time right now in gaming. So, treat people how you want to be treated. Don't be a jerk. Take care of each other. Good night.
You've been listening to Orange Lounge Radio. Orange Lounge Radio is a production of OLR Studios. To join us for a live show, tune into VogNetwork.com Sunday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. The views and opinions expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect those of the staff of Orange Lounge Radio or VOG Network, but you know they were all still true. See you next week.